Okay, so we're gonna try this again, and hopefully the sound works this time. Sorry about that, guys. Literally just tried initiating the live stream a moment ago, and for whatever reason, the sound didn't work. So hopefully the sound works this time. So if you guys are entering the live stream here, which should pick up over the next minute or two, hopefully there's sound this time. So we're just gonna do an hour. It is 2:36 a.m. Yes, can hear. Thank fucking God. That was weird. I have no idea what happened with the sound before. That's really bizarre. Didn't change anything. I've done these live streams before, obviously. I did 3 live streams before. So you guys can just drop some questions. Yeah. Mughal, 900. Hamza, as questions pick up, you guys are here first. So if you have questions, drop them because there can be a lag in terms of when I see questions, and then I might not see your question for a while. So just if you got questions, yeah, cool. Hamza, good to see you. Ask questions, guys. We're here. It's going to pick up. So just drop your USMLE questions, and I'll do some Q&A right now. So what are you guys up to? Hey, Mike, 60% out of UWorld, step 2 CK, and averaging 63% exam in 8 weeks. Can I expect 250 plus 63%? Have you done an NBME exam, Johan? So yeah, 60%. You're only 60%, and you're 60. How far are you through the QBank? Obviously, you want to score higher, Johan, but just you got to finish the entirety of UWorld. Johan, what percentage are you done with UWorld? I want you to write that in the chat because we're still waiting on some comments. But you're going to finish UWorld for 2CK, and then you're going to do all the clinical mastery series forms. You have a long way to go in terms of your prep. So you're going to do all the clinical mastery series forms. Then you're going to do NBME 6 through 8. Then you're going to do another pass of all the CMS forms. Then you're going to do NBMEs or free 120, then NBMEs 9 through 13. All right, so Hamza, let's see. Hey, I've been having difficulty regarding practice questions of hospital safety measures and quality issues. I'm a Malaysian student. What would you recommend apart from UWorld and AMBOSS, if any? So, look, dude, you don't need to study safety measures in particular. That is like a concern that some people have had as far as that component. Everyone's pretty much in the dark, and I would say just questions you get, a lot of that's going to be improvised on the real deal. So yeah, just people, it cancels out. People are not going to know how to prep for that. So just study real medicine, and I wouldn't focus too heavily on the safety science type stuff. Is UWorld the same as the NBME? Sash asks Mukul. No, UWorld is not the same as the USMLE. So obviously, NBMEs and clinical mastery series forms are the same as the real USMLE. Let's see. Yeah, Johan, you said 60% done. Vaccinations suck as well. Any help apart from cramming? Mike, how far from my exam should I do my last assessment? And which should I do last between UWSA 2 and NBME 31 free 120s? You're obviously going to end on NBME 31. Okay, so for step 1, you're going to do all of UWorld or AMBOSS. I've said that. So finish the entirety of QBank. Then you're going to do NBME's 20 through 31. So 20 through 24 first offline, free 120, and then you can do 25 through 31. It's different for every student, but in general, I would say at least 2 days per NBME exam is pretty good. So I'd give yourself a month and 4 days-ish to do all of the NBME exams. Okay, I like about a month and 4 days-ish. Let's see. But you're not going to be, I don't incorporate UWSAs into people's prep generally. That's not typical for what I do. If I incorporate a UWSA into someone's prep, it's because he or she's already exhausted all the NBME content. And that's usually in the setting of somebody who has taken comp as an example. Okay, it's a long discussion, but when I try to get some of you through the comp/CBSE, and it's a situation where you've maybe failed it a couple times, and we need to go nuclear and get through all that NBME content. And then after you pass comp, we got the step 1 now, but we've used all the NBMEs. Sometimes I incorporate the UWSAs, but it's not a standard part of prep anymore. So let's see here. Drop comments, guys. Let's see. Nisar asks, hi, Mike. How to start step 2 prep? How good is Master the Boards and Anki? Master the Boards is atavistic at this point, as in obsolete. I went through Master the Boards a decade ago. It's I would call it potential energy. I would say I wasted time. if I could go back in time, I would not have focused on Master the Boards 2 and 3, and I instead would have just done more questions from QBank. That was a mistake. But the silver lining is I can give advice now as far as going through USMLE resources that are a waste of time. Okay, saying like don't do certain things, and that's because I prepped very superfluously going through my own USMLE journey a decade ago. So no, I wouldn't focus on Master the Boards. You need to focus on my PDFs. And Anki for step 2, not from QBank. You're just going to do Anki of the NBME exams for step 1. For step 2, I'd say it's not necessary, okay? Because you're going to do copious NBME material. You're going to do, as I already talked about, you're going to finish UWorld or AMBOSS. You're going to do all the clinical mastery series forms. So 45, 50-ish forms going to take you 3 to 3.5 weeks. Then you're going to do NBME 6 through 8 offline, another double pass of all the CMS forms. Then you're going to do free 120, then 9 through 13. You don't need to make Anki for the NBME material for 2CK. I'd say just for step 1. Let's see. McCool says, should I do 40 question block because it takes a lot of my day? I've said minimum, when you're going through QBank, you're going to do minimum 40 questions, maximum 80 questions. That's what I want to see. So if there's no excuses. You should never do fewer than 40 questions in a day. As far as if you get OCD, or not OCD, ADHD going through QBank, then I've talked numerous times about doing blocks of 10. Okay, so you do 4 blocks of 10. That's a very efficient way to knock out QBank. Okay, be very efficient that way. So VJ says, hey, do you think that you'd come off as a rude person to people who come across you for the first time? Yes, I do. I want to focus on the medical stuff right now. You guys can ask like non-medical stuff after, but yeah, I'd say I do come across as rude. Absolutely. I definitely rub people the wrong way for sure. And that's like understandable. Okay. Like I'm not the most friendly person. So MS says, why do you recommend random mode for UWorld? I find that by system helps make connections better. Yeah, for some people, they like to pack the punch of going through QBank by system. That makes sense. But I would still recommend random mode for macro retention for the real USMLE. So, for example, if you knock out all the cardio questions now, then although you might feel like you're learning cardio the best, and as you just articulated, you say, I feel like I'm learning, I don't want to lose your question. You feel like you feel like you'll pack the punch better if you learn all your systems at one at a time. But for macro retention, 3 weeks later, you're going to forget some of that cardio. Okay. So it means a lot more if you see things in sporadic intervals for macro retention. And plus you're going to get things wrong. Let's say 3 weeks from now, that you're going to be pissed off because you feel like you should know that stuff. And that shock value is what's going to induce the macro retention. That's why I like random mode, okay? Because you're going to be going through QBank pissed off that you're missing things you thought you should know. And that is what actually induces the limbic response for you to finally remember stuff. So I've talked about how when like a way that you can cover subject specific material for prep alongside random mode in QBank. For example, you're in class and you've got like a renal GI quiz or something in like 3 weeks. You're going to do your 40 questions in the morning, random untimed tutor mode, and then you have lunch. And then you can do subject specific where let's say you go through my renal PDF and you go through my renal playlist on the YouTube. So the combination of PDF and playlist, that will be your subject specific study while you're doing the QBank and random mode. So if you want to pack the punch in, let's say a subject like cardio, just do the PDF and the YouTube MCQ playlist in that subject while you're going through QBank and random mode. If it's a situation where you're, let's say, not passing school, we're not talking about USMLE, but if we're actually, like, 'cause I get students sometimes where they need to fucking pass class or they're going to be out of med school, makes sense. Then sometimes we can go nuclear and go subject specific on QBank, but I prefer not to do that. Kenzo Ramos says taking 2CK in 4 weeks, enough time to squeeze an NBME 10 through 13, UWSA 2, and free 120. Dude, that's like ages. I mean, I would end on in 4 weeks. It should basically be you should be on the clinical mastery series, your second pass right now. UWSA 2 doesn't have a role, and then you're going to do 9 through 13. Yeah, I mean, so I've said this and I'll say it again. Okay, the ideal sequence when you're a post grad for 2CK is going to be AMBOSS UWorld, and then you're going to do all the clinical mastery series forms 2 per day over 3 to 3.5 weeks, NBME 6 through 8, a double pass of all the CMS forms, free 120, then 9 through 13, and then you're going to fucking sit. So you say you have a month left. I mean, well, how long is it going to take you to do free 120 and 9 through 13? So not that long, like a week plus ish, right? And then so that means that the final month should mostly be CMS forms. That's how you should be. It should be all NBME material. So that's how you're going to have plenty of time to do that. Or I want you to postpone. It depends on the student, but if a student is not rushed to sit the exam and the school is not forcing you, if you haven't done a double pass of all the CMS forms, NBME 6 through 13, free 120, I don't want you sitting because your 2CK score is the bulk of your application, obviously. E says, hi, Mike, could you help me with a schedule for step 3 prep? I took step 2 6 months ago and want to score high on step 3. I would like to take step 3 before September. Yeah, I mean, obviously I make custom schedules for people, but step 3, you are going to cover all the CMS forms, same as step 2. And you're also going to do all the step 2 NBMEs, so 6 through 13, including the step 2 free 120. But of course, in addition, you're going to do the 1900 questions from UWorld for step 3. You're going to do the CCS cases, and they're going to do the single NBME that step 3 has. So that's the material that we need to cover. And you're going to cover my 2CK PDFs as well. There's so much overlap between step 2 and step 3 that they're virtually the same. Let's see. That's a long discussion, actually. I could go off about more step 3 stuff, but I know like 99% of you here, or I guess maybe of the 53 of you in this chat at the moment, probably like 52 of you are not step 3. So Liz Mark says, any Comlex advice? Same as step 1 is how I prep people. And then the OMM nonsense that you have to do, like your little blue book or whatever, I basically just say like, figure that out on your own time. Like you'll deal with how to do OMM, but you're going to prep exactly as I recommend people prepping for step 1, which is going to be UWorld or AMBOSS. Obviously you have CommBank. Okay. So it's okay to use CommBank. It's no problem. Okay. But you're going to finish QBank. You're going to be reading your OMM blue book as you need to do the questions from that in your own time. But then you're going to ultimately do NBMEs 20 through 24, free 120, and then 25 through 31. Okay. That's how I get people through Comlex. I work with quite a few Comlex students. Let's see. McCool Demon says, is reading multiple subjects simultaneously in a day along with 40 question blocks a good idea? I'm guessing that's what you're asking me right now. Multiple subjects simultaneously in a day. It doesn't matter. I've just said, for you guys seeing this chat right now, I've said when you're going through QBank, you're going to do 40 questions in the morning. Okay. Then you're going to take a lunch break. Then the second half of the day can be up to 80 questions. I never want you doing more than 80 questions in a day. Or you could focus generally on one subject. I want you knocking out a PDF. Okay. Knock out like gastro, for instance. And then if you're getting ADHD reading gastro after like 15 pages and you say, well, I don't want to read anymore, you have the option to do more questions from QBank if you haven't done up to 80 yet, or you can start going through my YouTube MCQs. Okay. So there's a lot of fucking MCQs in my YouTube playlist that you guys can knock out. By the way, guys, give this video a fucking like right now. There's only 6 fucking likes and there's 51 of you here at the moment. So yeah, please give this a like. So that'll increase the algorithm. Yeah, that'll increase the algorithm and get more people here. So HFREF says, does UWorld percentage in step 2? Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Up to 21 now. That's good. But there's still about 30 of you who are fucking assholes and you're not liking this video. There you go. That's good. All right. So HFREF says, does UWorld percentage in step 2 CK QBank matter? And obviously for step 1 in general, does your QBank percentage matter? The answer is no. So how you're doing in QBank, whether you're getting like 38% and you're pissed off, or whether you're getting like 79, 80%, you're doing well, it doesn't matter. I'm agnostic to it. I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. That's literally what I tell my students. I'm like, I don't care, because what I care about is when you finish UWorld, you're going to do your initial NBME exams. Those are what fucking matter. Okay. So regardless of your scores in QBank, you're going to sit 20, 21 NBMEs offline when you finish, if you're studying for step 1, or NBMEs 6 and 7 after you finish the CMS first pass. And I just say, how are you doing on the NBME exams? That's what I care about. Okay. I don't care about your percentages in QBank. But if you say no, but Michael, you don't understand, I need to do better in QBank. Like, how do I get my percentages up? It's two things. Number one, you're just going to continue through QBank and not get emotional. So if you're getting like 35% QBank and you're tripping out, just you got to stick with it and get through QBank. That's the first thing. Second thing is you're going to go through my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs. I mean, how many times have I mentioned it already in this stream, right? So, I mean, when you do your 40 questions in the morning, then you're going to do the PDFs and the YouTube MCQs in the afternoon/evening, and that's how you can synergistically augment your QBank scores. So Christopher Corona says, Mike, seeing question repeats in offline, online, and online NBMEs for step one. Some concepts rarely show up. Should I focus on NBME material 2.5 weeks out? You should only be focusing on NBME material in the final month. If you're in the final month of your prep for step 1 or 2 and you're focusing on QBank still, you're not doing the right thing. Okay. You need to be focusing on the NBME content. And yes, repeats are across the offline, online NBME exams and on the real deal. Okay. Talked about this tons. For example, my step 1 back in 2012, the anatomy questions for my real step 1 are the same ones on offline NBME 24 for whatever fucking reason. And then there's questions from the forms prior to 19 that I use for teaching purposes that I'll send to students like while they're going through like 20 through 31. There's certain repeats, and I'll be like, you fucking got this question on like X NBME. Student might not even remember. There's repeats all over the place. It's how it is. There's a massive question pool, just arbitrarily. Let's say there's 10,000 USMLE questions, and those questions are cycled in and out. So there's repeats on the real deal across the comp exams. They're NBME administered, offline, online NBMEs. Tranquil Oasis says, hey, Mike, I'm planning on taking the IM shelf exam. I finished UWorld for IM. My CMS 64%, 54%. Any recommendations aside from finishing CMS forms to pass for your IM shelf? IM is a very broad rotation, of course. So yeah, you got to do, it depends how long it is, but I want you knocking out the UWorld/AMBOSS questions for your IM shelf. And you're going to do 2 passes of the CMS forms for that IM shelf. For every rotation you're on, whether it's surgery, peds, it doesn't matter. You're going to do 2 passes of the CMS forms. Okay, so 8 forms for the IM shelf, including the offline ones. You're going to do each of those twice. So if you have a very busy rotation, you can only knock out 1 per day. It's 16 days you're going to need to knock out those IM forms. If you have a not so busy rotation, you do 2 in a day, you only need 8 days. And then, of course, you've got my PDFs, which all the PDFs are good for IM. And the high yield USMLE reviews 1, 2, 3, 4 are actually based on the IM CMS forms. But I want you doing cardio, renal, gastro, pulmonary for step 1 and for step 2. Those PDFs are fucking ace. Okay. So, and my YouTube MCQs, the IM playlist, fucking massive. I think it's probably my most massive playlist. That or pathology. So Nisar Ahmed says, thank you, Mike, for the advice. Dima says, hey, Mike, I saw there's an old 2021 free 120 and a new 2022 one. Should we do both or combined the 2 free 120s to 1 assessment for 6 blocks? The answer, that's a good question, the latter. I've never heard anyone ask that, but it's no. I only have people do the new one. And you say, but why though? Why not do the old one? You can do the new one, or you can do the old one. It's fine. It's the same thing as saying like, well, Michael, why do you only recommend NBMEs 20 through 31? Why not NBME 19 or 18? I just see it as sufficient. We have a pass-fail exam. So if you want to do the old free 120, it's not a problem. You can do it. But the same fucking way, you could do NBME 17 if you want. I don't care. I mean, I just think for most of you guys that 20 through 31 is sufficient and the new free 120 is sufficient. And if you're starving for more assessments, I already said we could even use the UWSA 1 or 2. We could use NBME 19. Okay, so there are other assessments, but it's not mandatory to do the old free 120. It's not a numerical step 1 anymore. Okay. When I was studying for step 1 back in 2012, I did like 3 free 120s. There were like 3 or 4 of them, and there was a lot of overlap in the questions. But I was shooting for like a 280 at the time, which I of course didn't get. Amina Sufia says, "Hey Michael, do we need to do 3 or do we need to do second pass of UWorld? First pass 60%. What's the best prep 3 weeks before the exam? Should we go through first aid? Is it useful? No, you will not do a second pass of UWorld. I never have anyone do a second pass of UWorld. Sometimes I'll have people do incorrects from QBank. So when you finish UWorld / Amboss, right? You watching this clip right now. When you finish QBank, I said that you're going to do NBME's 2021 offline. If you do shittier than, let's say, 60-ish% on 20 and 21, then I will often have the student not progress to 22 onward. And I'll say, you got to do a month of incorrects, not a second pass of UWorld or Amboss. You're going to do incorrects. And if you, let's say, we're getting 50% in QBank as it was, then you literally have like, I don't know, near 2,000 questions that you have to go through from incorrects. So I'll just postpone the student a month. I don't do anything half pregnant. I don't say like, 1 week, 2 weeks of incorrects, nothing like that. Like I'll literally have you do like a month of extra QBank. So that's when I could have you do incorrects. If it's a situation where a student's come to me and they've already gone through, let's say, all of UWorld, maybe they've touched on their incorrects, they've done 2 passes of UWorld. Sometimes I just switch a student over to the other QBank, like Amboss or vice versa. In terms of first aid, I mean, look, people have asked me that before. The first aid era is over, in the sense that there's nothing wrong with first aid. Okay. People say like, Mike, you hate first aid. It's like, I don't hate first aid. There's nothing against first aid. Like first aid served its purpose when we had a numerical step 1. I mean, that's what it was for. It was a part of the gunner culture where you have to, unfortunately, read 50 facts in order for one to show up on your exam. Okay. So first aid is an excellent fucking book for a numerical step 1, which we don't have anymore. Okay. So now my PDFs are based on the NBME exams, not wasting your fucking time, where just the content that you read straight up in the NBMEs is just raw what's on the NBME exams, okay? You don't need to know fucking like epsilon subunit of CD3 for Mehlmanmedical as, one of the immunosuppressants. Absolute garbage, okay? So Ezot with a very weird second name there. I don't know how to pronounce that. Says, what would you suggest for students stuck at 55% UWorld? I already answered this, which is going to be, you're just going to, it's a combination of when you're watching this clip and your QBank percentages are not where you want them to be. I've said 2 things. Number 1, you're just going to continue through QBank. You're not going to get emotional about your scores. So if you're getting fucking 45%, 50%, you say, how do I get my scores up? Just continue with your blocks, okay? And you need momentum. And then the second point is you can use my PDFs and my YouTube playlists as the second half of your day to supplement. And then that in turn is going to help you on your QBank, okay? Which you're going to do the first half of the day at a minimum. So Usama says, I just lost your fucking question. Sometimes the chat just moves on me. Let's see. I'm trying to find your question. Usama says, hi, Melman. Hi, Melham? Who the fuck is Melham? Melham? Usama? Seriously? It's Mehlman. My step 1 is in 2 days, but now it seems like my preparation is not good enough. Is it normal? I have passed 3 to 4 MMEs, failed only 1 within the last month. I mean, look, Usama, like I need specific numbers. I would sit with you and chat about like which NBMEs did you, I'd want to know the exact dates of your NBMEs, which forms. I'd want to know the percent correct / number of wrongs. And I'd want to know the 3-digit score conversion, which you can get that by typing that into Google Images, not Google Images. So for example, you sit e.g. NBME 23 offline, you type into Google Images, NBME 23 score conversion, Reddit, and you'll get a graph with a best fit line, and you plug in X, the number of wrongs, and then as the Y will be your 3-digit score conversion, pass, fail, step 1, but it's 197 internal pass. I like seeing 205, 210 plus as the buffer. I like that for at least 3 exams at 205, 210 plus for a student to sit. Now, some of you say, but why cumbersomely convert all percentages into a 3-digit score? It's the Celsius Fahrenheit type of conversion thing. Why do that cumbersomely? It's because the scales differ per form. So 66% on one form is not the same 3-digit conversion as a 66% another form. It might differ by like 3-4 points. And I get very OCD about where a student is sitting. So I want to know. I want you to sit at 205, 210 plus. I don't like people fucking YOLOing. Okay. I don't want you to get like a 199, 200, 2 exams where it's like a 200 to 199 and then you're going to sit. I don't allow that. That's like a discharge against medical advice. Okay. So I have my students pass because I don't allow them to sit. I don't sign off essentially until their scores are high enough. And anytime I have a student sit when he or she isn't ready, it's never because I approve it. It's always because the school says, fuck you, you have to sit or we're kicking you out. It's always the school, okay? Um, but I mean, we can't study for these exams forever. So let me see. Is 3 blocks a day good? No, I don't want you doing 3 blocks a day. Never more, guys, never more than 80 questions in QBank per day. Okay. So it's not that you can't do more. It's just you start not to read the same way. It's not a race. Okay. It's multiple things. It's like same thing as gym. It's like you could do a certain exercise multiple sets, but at some point you got to change things up. There's other aspects like diet. There's certain other considerations. So it's like after you finish a maximum of 80 questions per day, I want you doing my PDFs, more my YouTube MCQs. Okay, that's what I want you doing. So just maximum 80 per day, not 3 blocks. Anan Anon 47 says my step one is tomorrow. Okay, well, good luck, dude. What should I review today? What should I eat tonight? What should I eat tonight for dinner / tomorrow for breakfast? Serious questions. I mean, I actually the answer is if you absolutely want to review something today, it would be High Yield Arrows PDF. I don't want you studying past 2 or 3 p.m. Okay. You need to have a chill evening. That's really, really important. So I really want it to be like 2, 3 p.m. hits. And now you're literally just gonna like go to the gym, have dinner with like family, housemates. If you're gonna watch a movie, have a couple slices of pizza. Okay, not a heavy dinner, nothing spicy. Okay. I've talked about this before. No fucking chicken vindaloo with aloo paratha. All right. So you're gonna have just a couple slices of pizza, a couple cups of chamomile tea with milk and honey, and you're gonna watch a nice like happy movie like Shawshank Redemption. Okay, but it's literally what you're gonna do. Your extra study of 2-ish hours, let's say from 3 to 5 p.m. or from 3 to 6 p.m. the day before your exam is not going to make or break your fucking USMLE. All right, so like if your regimen, if your knowledge base is so tenuous that like 2 hours the day before your exam is going to make or break, it means you're not ready. You need to have a chill evening. You need to be in a good headspace the day before / night before. You need to sleep well, and in the morning of, I would say just a bowl of cereal, half a banana, and then caffeinate as you need to. If whatever your normal caffeine intake is, I would have double. Okay, so I want you to be in atrial fibrillation essentially while you're sitting the exam. It's important that you're as sharp as a whip, even if you have AF, than to be a partial crackhead. There's no fucking excuses when you're in your medical licensing exam. So I want you to double caffeinate and be tapping your fucking foot. That I'm for real on that one. Okay. So have extra caffeine the day of. For those of you who feel like you're weak in terms of you're weak mentally or physically, you're like, I can't handle caffeine, Michael. I mean, I don't really know what to tell you. You got to fucking have caffeine, just like deal with it. So, person named LOL says, should I go through pathophysiology, rapid review, and FA or not worth my time? The rapid review and FA is more just ostensible / nominal. Like it's there. I mean, like it's okay. I mean, you can look at it, but it's not a huge deal. I would say you're better off looking at my High Yield Arrows PDF. Like High Yield Arrows is superior, and my High Yield Rapid Review is 1, 2, 3, 4 under my free stuff tab on my website. There's literally I have 4 PDFs called High Yield Reviews 1, 2, 3, 4, which I've said are based on the internal medicine knowledge / CMS forms. And many of you are studying for step 1. Well, there's overlap. I mean, polymyositis for step 2 is still polymyositis for step 1. I mean, it's not so dramatic. Maybe the answer on step 1 is anti-Jo1 antibodies, but the answer on 2CK is give steroids. I mean, is it that dramatic? So, because you get some people who just want to avoid all like step 2 material at all, but there's so much overlap. Hamza Akam says the information is getting updated. I saw a question on MME9 saying acetaminophen is used for back pain. Amboss now says it doesn't help with back pain. Analgesics plus, I don't know what you're specifically asking, Hamza, but analgesics plus exercise is tolerated is the answer ubiquitously across NBME exams for what patients do when they have back pain. Okay, so bed rest is the wrong fucking answer. It's what you need to know. And they also, you need to know you no longer x-ray for disc herniation. It's on the new NBME for 2CK. I've updated my MSK PDF to say that. Okay, they don't want you to image. I mean, the answer is don't x-ray. I don't know what to tell you, but I think it's NBME 12 for 2CK where that's the answer. But bed rest is wrong fucking answer for back pain. You're going to do exercises tolerated plus light analgesics such as acetaminophen. Yilun Zhang says 2 weeks of dedicated left and then 4 weeks of rotation, of which I'll have days for studying 4 days per week. 1,500-year-old left on first pass and taken only NBME 10. Should I prioritize? Dude, I mean, when is your step 2? 2 weeks, only 2 weeks left, and then 4 weeks of rotation. Yilun Zhang, I'm not clear as to your timeline right now. So can you just rewrite your timeline? I'm going to go to other questions. Hamza Akam says, what to do about the latest guidelines? Are they tested? Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. If there are debatable changes in guidelines, guys, such as mammography at 40 versus 50, or colonoscopy, holy shit, is it at 45 now rather than 50? The USMLE is not going to be equivocal about it. It would be a situation where 4 of the answers are absolutely fucking wrong. And then you're left with do colonoscopy at age 45. And you're like, whoa, they actually like assessed it for the first time. They're not going to make it equivocal where you have to play a guessing game as to whether you're doing or whether you're applying a new guideline. Okay. But obviously you need to Google updated guidelines. That's the annoying part about 2CK prep is vaccination schedules, even things like endocarditis guidelines. Yes, cancer screening. You should HIV and pregnancy as an example. Like there are certain things that annoyingly I could write like a resource for you, and then in like literally 8 weeks from now, you're just like, well, are they updated? It's like, well, you should still fucking Google it. I mean, that's how 2CK is annoyingly. So Tranquil Oasis says, follow-up question, should I watch most or all your subject-specific videos, or should I do Highlight Arrows PDF at this point? Tranquil Oasis, I don't remember what your fucking timeline is. Obviously do everything. I've literally said do my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs, do it all. But if you have no time left at all, like you're in the final week, I want you to know Highlight Arrows PDF. Sarah Ferres, family shelf in 3 days. Any last minute recommendations? Go through my high yield risk factors PDF. Holy shit. Okay. So high yield family medicine, that's obviously you're gonna go through that PDF. But high yield risk factors PDF is essentially a family medicine 2.0. So there's those of you who want to know, is that a step 1 or step 2 PDF? If you literally click into my high yield risk factors PDF, you know how my PDFs tend to have a preface where you scroll down, then I have like a little paragraph that says, this isn't a 700-page superfluous text. I have that little like mini paragraph there. For the high yield risk factors PDF, I literally say in that paragraph, this is a 2CK tilt PDF, okay? Those of you studying for step 1, because risk factors, quote unquote, are the new hot topic, okay? Those of you OCD about it, you can look at the PDF. It's fucking excellent, okay? I'm just articulating that it's got it, in my view, risk factors are a 2CK type of tilt. That's my view, okay? And if you're studying for family medicine, it's excellent, okay? So I can get you to ace your family medicine shelf by doing the family medicine, my high yield family medicine PDF, my high yield risk factors PDF. You're going to do all 3 family medicine CMS forms twice. You're going to do all the family medicine questions from QBank. Some people have added ambulatory medicine in there. And you're better off if you've done internal medicine rotation first. Family medicine is just a soft porn version of internal medicine. Varun Sunil Dwivedi says, exam in 3 months from now. Just first aid, your PDF primary and UWorld micro sketchy. Can I make it? It's a highly cuck question, Varun. I literally just fucking said you don't need to use FA. I've said repeatedly that the tetrad is going to be number 1, QBank, number 2, my PDFs, number 3, my YouTube MCQs, and number 4, the NBME content. In terms of sketchy, that can be just custom based on your learning style. Some people need their flying animals and glitter and cascading waves and colors and furry things in order to retain information, whereas some of us just like text. I mean, I don't really know what to say. I personally can't look at anything that, like, I looked at a sample of something from Sketchy because I need to be educated on what the resources are. And I felt like I was in a kindergarten acid trip and on salvia. Okay. So crazy Arabic name. I don't know how to read that. It says, hi, I have a problem in getting concepts all together like you, question mark. What are you asking? Hamza says, like breast cancer screening done. I just said that. Elrace987 says, I have no problem doing the questions. I just hate having to read the explanations. Any advice from QBank? I want you reading all explanations from QBank, guys. So you don't have to be OCD. I've said you don't have to annotate. Okay. So I just want you reading the explanations, at least your eyeballs reading 30 to 60 seconds scanning down the page. I want you to do that, but you don't have to annotate. And some people say, oh, but Michael, couldn't I just annotate, let's say, into your PDFs? Yeah, you could, but I don't think you need to annotate. I've said that. I just want you to do 48 questions. I just want you to read everything. And you say, well, how are we going to remember stuff? I'm going to forget things. Should I make Anki cards? No, I don't want you making Anki cards from QBank. I've said that repeatedly as well. So I just want you to move through QBank. I don't want you making Anki cards. Okay. So just literally read and be comfortable with forgetting things. I think that's the key point. Okay. That's some value right there, is no matter how low or high you're scoring, what's ubiquitous among students is this feeling that you're forgetting things. So remembering, forgetting, that cyclical oscillatory type of process is normal and ubiquitous. Okay. So just move through questions in QBank and don't get bogged down in the notion that you're forgetting things. So Edward Perez says Lego. The fuck does that mean, Edward Perez? So Markenzio says, is neuro overrepresented in the CNS forms? Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. Okay, so look, guys, I know many of you are saying for step one. Okay, I don't want to get too like maniacal about this right now, but like the clinical mastery series forms for TCK, there's 8 of them. But for instance, we only have 3 for family medicine or 2 for emergency medicine. But there should probably be 8 for family and maybe 3 for neuro. It should be the reverse, okay? Or maybe like 6 for emergency. So no fucking idea why, Mark Hensio. I don't know why neuro is overrepresented. I think psych is also 7 forms, I believe. So that's overrepresented as well. No idea why. But I agree with that. Naman says, I'll be giving but I still want you doing all of them. Okay. So Naman says, I'll be giving my step 1 in 2024 December. Dude, you're fucking year and a half out. Should I do my registration on website or on before 2024? You have 18 months to literally think about that right now. That's like a troll. Aziz Masood says, hi Mike, I'm from Kenya. I am a medical student aspiring to sit step 1 in the near future. Love your content. Been following you for more than 2 years. Thanks, Aziz. That's really fucking cool. Trying to think if I've met anyone from Kenya before. Have I met anyone from Kenya? I'm not sure. Dima says, Dima, I remember you, man. I think I asked if you were Russian in one of my past streams, and you said no. I think did you say you're Ukrainian, or did I am I just making shit up right now, Dima? By the time you respond and I get back down in the chat, it'll probably be like 45 minutes from now anyway. But you're asking me, what's your opinion on USMLE recalls PDF around the net? My view is that there's 2 components to that. Number one, you only get scammed when you're attempting to take shortcuts. Okay, there's no shortcuts in this regard. So that's just how you get scammed. Look, many of you are emotional and needy about obviously trying to pass med school, all this, and unfortunately, you're gonna get people who feed off of that, and some of you are going to get scammed and buy into this notion of recall PDFs. That's the first point. The second point is, if you want recalls, it's called the real NBME exams, because I fucking said that questions repeat. Like, you literally have to understand that like the NBME exams are fucking recalls. Okay. Now, I just have to reiterate once again that there's no shortcuts. So I think that there is a karmic element to it. That's my view. Okay. That is my view. I would say never fucking pay anyone for recalls. And there's a karmic element where even if in the short term, maybe you get over some mini hump with step 1, it's going to backfire maybe on 2CK as an example, when your score matters more. The point is, recalls, bad fucking idea. All right. So GT, I appreciate the super comment, or the super GT. I think you're the first person to the $2 comment here. I think you're the first person to ever give like a super a super chat. You're the first person to do that. So I have monetization off for this. Like, I'm not running ads on this video. I don't run ads on any of my videos. You notice that, guys? And I know I think more than one of you have paid for a super chat. I see some notifications here, but I'm just scrolling down right now. Okay. And I encountered GT first. Very old IMG, graduated in 2008. Do I have a chance of starting residency in family medicine in the US? The answer is yes, but I would sit step three. If any of you guys have been out of med school more than 3 years, I would sit step three, the year that you're applying, or within the, yeah, just generally within the year you're applying. Step, especially now that we have a pass fail step one, the combination of a step two with a step three, I think that that could help you for sure. That's the utility of step three, is for people who've been out of med school for a while. Anthony asks, I know you said it before, but if you're limited for time, which PDFs do you recommend? The answer is high yield arrows. But I don't want you neglecting gastro, renal, pulmonary, and cardio. Do all my fucking PDFs. But if it's literally got to be one, I would do high yield arrows. Prob, just because high yield arrows rules in, it's highly specific for you passing step one. Okay, you got to know the concepts in that. Prob Jasal says, I keep forgetting questions I got wrong in UWorld and getting overwhelmed with incorrects in Anki. Should I just keep doing questions and doing corrects at the end, or stick it out with Anki? I've said don't fucking do Anki, okay? So you're not doing Anki for QBank. You got to stop that, and you got to stop your annotations as well. You got to just be comfortable with forgetting things. I'm dead serious right now, okay? It's one of the biggest pieces of value I can give any of you guys in the decade that I've been teaching USMLE. Okay. It's somehow just, I've arrived at that as an important consolidated tactical point, as far as the notion of students always feeling beleaguered / overwhelmed with forgetting things. That never goes away with, no matter how high you're scoring. And also just efficiency. People getting, it's the number one way people don't make progress. People get bogged down, is trying to convert things to Anki, or trying to make notes of like everything they're doing. So Faria Fatima says, do you recommend working while studying for step two? Absolutely fucking not, Faria. Now look, some of you guys are going to be studying for step while you're doing like a full-time job. I've literally had students who are doing like a full-time job, okay, while they're studying for step. It's a bad fucking idea. I understand, like when you're 24, it's easier to study, but some of you, you might be like 40s, 50s, and you got to deal with like, full-time job or kids. I don't recommend it. Okay. You gotta, the same way I wouldn't recommend studying for step one while you're on rotations, because you could think of rotations as like a full-time job, couldn't you? So you're trying to imagine studying for step one, not during dedicated, but imagine studying for step one while you're on like an OBGYN rotation or something. You'd say, well, that's not a good idea. Well, no shit, because that's like having a job that's getting in the way of what you're trying to do, which is study for step one. Medical school is supposed to be a full-time job. So Alaji Oakland, that's a cool name, says, during the last month of comp / NBME plan, should I do 1 and 2 blocks daily and review, or should I sit and complete the whole NBME 20, then review? Okay. I've said for all the NBMEs guys that you're going to be doing them over 2 days generally. So for example, for step one, when you finish Amboss or UWorld, you're going to go in NBME 20. I give you 2 days to do it. So the first day, you're going to do all 4 blocks and maybe half an hour with breaks, so 4.5 hours. And then you're going to start reviewing it. And maybe that first day, you only finish 2 blocks of the review. And then the second day, you're going to finish the remaining 2 blocks of the review. Okay. And then you're going to repeat that process. I like giving students 2 days per NBME exam. Okay. It's a long discussion. I could talk about all this at length, but I've said make Anki cards from your NBME incorrects, not from QBank. Okay. No Anki from QBank. The only time you're going to be using Anki is for your incorrects for step one. I've said for step two, you don't have to make Anki cards. Okay. You can just go through the CMS forms, just go through the NBMEs. You don't have to make Anki for 2CK. But for the NBME exams, each exam should be over 2 days. Okay. So you ask over 2 to 3 days, over 2 days. If you're scoring very high, then you can obviously knock out and review an entire NBME in 1 day if you're getting like 8 wrong. Okay. I mean, so, but for most students, I like 2 days per NBME. You need a month. I'd say a month and 4 days to do NBMEs 20 through 30, including free 120. I like a month and 4 days. So Axon asks, Mike, got my surgery shelf in 2 weeks, 70% average UWorld, CMS forms 1 through 8, score range 82 to 90%. That's solid. So you said what to do next. I'm trying to honors. Okay. So if you want to honor your surgery shelf, for any of you who are on peds, obs, and gyne, whatever shelf you're on, you need to do the CMS forms not once, but twice. Okay. So I want you to do all 8 forms twice. So you're just going to do them again. And yes, I want you doing all the surgery questions from QBank, whether it's AMBOSS or UWorld. You don't have to do both QBanks. You can just choose one. And I want you doing my surgery PDF. I want you doing my high yield gastro PDF for surgery. That's probably a very specific tactical point you guys don't realize. The same fucking way, maybe 20 minutes ago, someone who asked about family medicine, I said, do the high yield risk factors PDF is essentially like an FM 2.0 PDF. I want you doing high yield gastro as another PDF for surgery. It's essentially a surgery 2.0. And don't worry, if you're studying for step 1, I label in there what is for surgery and like what's not. Okay, in case you guys are worried about what's for each step, I label appropriately, which is for each step. I just lost where I was in the chat. Let me see. Oh wow, I see some super chats here. I'm scrolling up though. Those of you guys who've donated, I saw your super chats. I'll get down and thank you formally, but I just want to move through sequentially in the chat here. Red Bull XMD, welcome back. I remember you from my other streams. Thanks for coming back. Melman, how do you reconcile the discrepancy in approaches to doing NBMEs 20 through 30 versus 25 through 30 for step 1? So Red Bull XMD is asking, why am I saying do 20 through 31 as opposed to just 25 through 31? I think is what you're asking. The answer is because you need to fucking pass. I mean, isn't that like the goal here? So look, you're going to get a variety of opinions. I've converged on what I think is best, which is that you're going to do QBank, and then you're going to do 20 through 24, free 120, and then 25 through 31. You're not going to be ending your prep on QBank. You're not going into your real USMLE doing AMBOSS. That makes no fucking sense. There's a sequence. You're going to do QBank in order to prepare you for offline NBMEs 20 through 24, which will prepare you for free 120 and the online NBMEs. There's a sequence, okay? So I will see that your scores are enhanced on 25 through 31 if you've clearly done 20 through 24 first. So why wouldn't you do that, okay? So I've gotten a lot of people who have had weak fucking scores and backgrounds whom I have worked with for many hours to get their scores over the mark. Okay. It's not a personal fucking advertisement. I'm just saying that objectively, not subjectively, as far as my opinion, like objectively, students whom I have driven through the process of doing the NBMEs 20 through 31, free 120, memorizing those forms, they are going to pass. Okay. I mean, I don't really know what to tell you. And if the students' scores are not where they should be as they're moving through the NBMEs, I've already said, I will sometimes just say to the student, sorry, you're not going to continue with the NBMEs now. We got to stop. And you're going to go back and you're going to do all your UWorld incorrects. You're going to do all your AMBOSS incorrects. So I have certain remediation tactics. So I see more of you guys are donating. I appreciate it. I'll move down as I see you formally and we'll thank you. Sahil says, hey, Mike. The Chad says, is doing questions more important than studying, watching videos, and reading review books, for instance? For USMLE prep, the answer is you have to do all of them. So questions are the cornerstone. It's like asking if you're trying to get more, it's literally, you can compare these things to the gym. Okay. It's the same thing. If you're trying to get more fit, it's like asking, like, is, running more important than diet? The answer is they're both fucking important, right? Some of you would say, well, diet's more important, 70%. The point is they're both fucking important. All right. So you have to do questions. You do questions every day. You're going to watch your diet every day. All right. And then you're still going to, you watch my YouTube MCQs. You're still going to read my PDFs. You said reading review books. My PDFs are your book, quote unquote. I mean, rather than feeling like supercilious and hubristic, where I'm going to put all my PDFs into like a 1,500 page book, I'm so amazing, and I wrote this like huge compendium, rather than creating that, I just think it's easier for you guys to have individual PDFs. I mean, it's not dramatic. Okay. So you need to do both. You need to do questions. I've said in the morning, you're gonna have lunch, then you're gonna do my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs. So Tranquil Oasis, thank you. Sahil again says, anti-cancer therapy enough from Heme Onc PDF good? the answer is probably yes. Okay. I mean, things I talk about, but I also have farm modules. I have farm modules that are free, and I have farm Anki, which are paid. Sahil says, what about those drugs written in FA? You need to like get away from FA. FA is superfluous. Okay. I reiterate, it's nothing negative. It's not a numerical step one anymore. So there is a superfluousness to a lot of the monoclonal antibodies in particular that I've seen in FA that are a joke to me because I actually know what's on the NBME exams, and I say like that's misguided. I don't really need to go on a whole like diatribe or jeremiad right now as far as FA is concerned, but the point is FA is superfluous. Myth/Meath says, "Hey Mike, done with 50% of UWorld and around 52% correct. Do you think that I can give my exam last week of July?" No, I don't, because you need to finish. So if you're only done with 50% ish of UWorld, it means you have 2,000 questions left, and that's going to take you at least a month. And then you have to do the CMS forms, which is going to be 3 to 3.5 weeks times 2. Okay, so I've said you're going to do another month of QBank, 2,000 questions. You're going to do 3 to 3.5 weeks of the CMS forms. You're going to do NBMEs 6 through 8. You're going to do a double pass of all the CMS forms. And then you're going to do free 120. Then you're going to do 9 through 13 NBMEs. So you're looking at another like 2.5 plus months minimum. I would postpone. Last week of July, no, you're not ready to sit them. Bia says, should I take notes while studying for step 2 CK? Like, should I annotate my FA step 1 or buy FA step 2? Wow, we're really into the cuck questions now, aren't we? I've said you don't need to annotate, whether you're studying for step 1 or step 2. You don't need to annotate. And I've also said the FA era is over for step 1. It's no longer numerical step 1. And then for step 2, the book is weak for first aid. Okay. Nothing negative. It's just they were never incentivized to make a good step 2 text because everyone bought it by default because they used the first aid step 1 text. So they were never incentivized to create a better step 2 text because they just had the business from the start. It's not a book that people use for step 2. You want to use my PDFs for TCK. I articulated earlier in this live stream that master the boards are not necessary. MTBs 2 and 3 are not necessary for step 2. And I would still recommend MTBs over even FA for TCK. That's how bad FA for TCK is. Adam Bowen says, what do you think of the new NBME 13 and 14? I don't know anything about NBME 14 yet. I've had students to NBME 13. I don't know anything about NBME 14 at the moment. It's that if it just came out, it's that fucking new. Okay. We have a Telegram group that's active. No one's mentioned NBME 14 in the Telegram group yet. No one's mentioned that yet. I haven't had a student mention that. Okay. So, I mean, I don't sit in my room here in fucking Japan and check like the NBME USMLE website for fun to see if NBME 14 came out. So when I hear about these things, it's because students will have mentioned them. So Markenzio says, is neuro over? You already asked that. I said, yes, neuro is overrepresented on the CMS. Logic says, hey, Mike, what is the best way to study UWorld? Very generic question. 40, 80 questions per day, random untimed tutor mode. If you have ADHD, you do blocks of 10. Mike Strong Arm. Welcome back, Mike Strongarm. I remember you from my first live stream, I think it was. Hey, Dr. Mehlman, what do you think about the fact that UWorld Step 1 now has 3,200 questions? I thought it was more than that. I thought it was like 3,700. Is it not 3,700? Or maybe that's, no, I thought it was 3,700 for Step 1. I don't know where you're getting 3,200 from. That is too many. They had 1,600 to 2,000 questions back in the day, and people get 250 plus back then. Yeah, but people also failed back then. I mean, so that hasn't changed. When I did UWorld back in 2012, there were 2,150 questions at the time. So, but I also did multiple QBanks at that point in time. People did multiple QBanks. That's what it was. Now people choose one QBank. Like you can do Amboss or UWorld. I don't recommend doing both because both have so many questions. But back in 2012, I did UWorld, I did Kaplan, I did USMLE RX, I did Gunner Trainer QBank, which is a non-existent QBank now, waste of time if it still exists. Person with a crazy name, Joe Tiermaya Jane says, do you happen to know pass percentage for Comlex? I don't. You guys need a 420, I believe it is. I don't know. I'm guessing it's 2/3 ish. I'm guessing because it's same as the NBMEs. But for the, I'm not gonna over speculate for actual Comlex. I don't know the exact pass percentage, but I prep you guys the same as step one, and I have you guys sit the NBMEs for step one. And assuming that the questions are similar enough, I would just imagine that it's around a 2/3. Amena Sufia says, what PDFs are most important for step one other than high-yield arrows? I said cardiopulmonary, renal, gastro. I want you to knock those out. Students get very like hysterical about doing my neuroanatomy, immunology, biochemistry PDFs. I mean, look, they're fucking excellent PDFs. I agree with you, but I want you to pass. Okay. So, like, those PDFs are highly perpetuated as the ones to do because those are difficult subjects, understandably. And I know how to, I knew how to create good resources there. But I still like, I just read someone's funny comment. But I want you doing the cardiopulmonary, renal, gastro PDFs and hematology for sure, in addition to high-yield arrows. Hey, Mike, if my FM shelf is on June 23rd and my latest NBME practice scores 80% and almost done with the Amboss FM shelf, QBank, any advice on what to do to prep besides your document? I've already said. So for family medicine, not only are you going to do the FM PDF, high-yield family medicine, but you're going to do high-yield risk factors PDF. It's like a family medicine 2.0. If you guys are studying for step one, and you're just coming into the stream, I talked about this earlier, but the high-yield risk factors PDF, yes, you can look at it for step one, but it's a 2CK tilt PDF, okay? But it's a very fucking excellent PDF. But that's what you want to do. And you want to do all 3 clinical mastery series forms for FM. You're going to do those twice, okay? In addition to Q&A questions for medicine, some people do the ambulatory medicine questions as well. Gentian Elazaj says, why are there so many bad experiences about personal tutoring out there? Well, I don't know. It's because people don't know how to fucking teach. Okay, that's like what it is. So got to know what you're talking about. Experience fucking matters. You can score high on USMLEs and not know what you're doing. I'd say it's probably similar to like if you're a coach for like an Olympic athlete or like if you're a coach for an NFL team. I mean, like you'll have a coach, but then the coach isn't as good at football as like Tom Brady is, but the coach still is the fucking coach because he knows what he's doing. So it's like that. You get some people who like score high, but they're not actually like good at teaching. Let's see. Where could I use my step exams if I can't match? I don't know actually. Where can you use your step? You can try different countries. Israel. I know they accept USMLEs. Jimmy Fernandez, this was like the comment I like saw peripherally before I almost like laughed at, which was like, your eyebrows look like a bacillus. Thanks, Jimmy Fernandez. I appreciate it. Azjad Abba says, all PDFs are important. Most popular are biochem, immunoneuroanatomy. You're right. That's what I just said. T Helper says, my UW scores are still, by the way, 40, 50%. What do I need to do? I've said the 2 things you're going to do in order to improve your UWorld scores are, number 1, you're going to continue through UWorld unemotionally, or if you're an Amboss, doesn't matter. If your scores are really fucking shit, you're just going to continue through the QBank unemotionally, and you're just going to knock it out. You have to just make progress through it. And then number 2, you're going to do my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs. Okay, so you got a morning session where you do 40 questions. Take lunch, and you got an afternoon session where you can titrate up to a maximum of 80 questions, or you can just do my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs. You can improvise. The first half of the day will always be your 40 questions. That's fixed. Second half of the day, to prevent burnout, I give you guys flexibility. So you can either titrate, you can say on a given day, you know what, I feel really good doing questions right now. I want to continue doing that. You say, today I'm just going to do up to 80 questions maximum, never more than 80. Then I'll do some PDF like later or YouTube MCQs later. That's fine. Or you do the 40 questions, you have lunch, and you're like, I can't fucking do more QBank questions right now. I'm going to like trip out. So then you just decide I'm going to read the PDFs like the rest of the day or something. That's what you can do. So that's going to improve your QBank scores. I said 2 things. Number 1, continue through QBank unemotionally. And number 2, supplement with my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs. Oleg Kim says, what is the chance to match with step one? Pass and a step two, 249 in a telerotation. That's such a troll question, Oleg Kim, because that's a very strong 2CK, 249. You can, if you guys are watching this and you're just going to get a pass on step two, 214, if you get like, let's say a 217 or something and you're like all sad, don't be sad. That's not bad. All you need is a pass for internal medicine, family medicine, peds, obs, gyne, psych. Okay. Like you just need to pass. Um, Abdullah Magdi says, hi, doctor. I got a 196 and NBME 26. What should I do? Those of you guys watching, the internal pass mark for step one is a 197, of course, pass fail exam, but 197 is the internal pass mark. And I like students getting a 205, 210 plus. So, Abdullah, you had a 196 and maybe 26. Obviously, it's a non pass. And I'm assuming you got low 60s percent correct on that. What you're going to do, because it's an online NVMe and I don't like students taking a fail like that, I would have to talk to you about when your exam date is, if you're allowed to move it. And I would potentially just have you go back to QBank incorrects for an entire month. And then I'd have you do the offline NVMEs 20 through 24, free 120 and 25 again. If you've already done them, I would have you do them again. Holy shit. As though you've never done them. And we wouldn't worry about your scores. Like if you get like 85% on those exams and when you do them a second time, I don't care. I just want you reviewing them again. So about a month of QBank, going through all your incorrects, and 20 through 25 and free 120. And actually NVMe 26 again, because you just said you took it and you got to fail. And then I'd have you sit NVMe 27 and we see how you do on it then. So Ahmad says never more than 80 questions for step one, step two. Yes, that is correct. For step one, step two for QBank, I never have you guys do more than 80 questions in a day. If you feel like you can do more than 80 questions, I want you doing other things. So you spend the rest of your day looking at my PDFs or my YouTube MCQs. Champion asks, what do you think about polygamy and Romania? Look, I can answer non-medical questions, but I'm going to do that after, because once my brain switches over into non-medical stuff, it's going to be very difficult for me to get back into medicine. I need to just like roll with it, because there's stuff I just need to maintain momentum here. It's not about me. It's about you guys right now. So just stick around if you want to ask me non-medical questions after. Nihal says, hi, Mr. Mehlman. How much time should we ideally take to review one UWorld block? I would say 4+ hours is like normal. It doesn't, there's no race. Okay. Some of you can say, really, 4 hours? I can do it in 2 hours. It doesn't really matter. I would just say if it's taking you 4 to 6 hours to do 40 questions, that's not weird. Okay. Like that's okay. Some of you guys are going to be very like OCD about every like detail. Okay. It's not a big deal. I'd say 4 to 6 hours is okay. But if you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of time in the day, I will just force you through faster. Okay. If you're on like a rotation or something, I'll force you through faster. Ahmed Milad says, chicken pankora. I don't think I've ever had that. I've never heard of that. Chicken pankora. KG Cloden, $50 super chat. Really fucking awesome. I really, really appreciate that. And it comes with a "you're amazing." So that's a huge fucking donation. I appreciate that, KG/Cloden. That was very fucking nice of you. Okay. I really appreciate the super chat. That was a very nice donation. And those of you who donated, I will see the notification as I scroll down the chat. So I haven't ignored any of that. Abdullah Magdi says, I already answered your question. Ahmed Malad says, I'm an Anki head, an Ankiing head. Did most UWorld big systems, got 77 wrong on NVMe 20. Yeah, that's borderline. When do you recommend booking the exam? Thanks. 77 wrong is borderline. That's down around the pass mark, if not just a minor fail. I think the curve for 20 allows many wrong. I think you can actually get upwards of like 80 wrong on like 20. But like for the other, like the online NVMEs, that's like a definite fail. But NVMe 20 should be about a month out, like a month and 4 days out. I'd probably, but look, I mean, to give you some practical advice here, I would say if you literally just got um, 77 wrong and NBME 20, I would want you doing NBME 21. I'd want to see your scores on that. And then we could make a decision as far as how we want you to move through the other NBME exams. Okay, if you tank NBME 21, I would just pull you out of the NBMEs and have you do UWorld / embossing corrects. But if you do decently enough, if you get a 3-digit score conversion between 190 and 196 on NVMEs 20 and 21, I will have the students sit NVMe 22, but then I increase the threshold. I say now you have to pass though. So in other words, I allow like a mild fail on 20 and 21. Okay, so if you get below a 190 score conversion on 20 or 21, I don't even have you do like if you get a 189 3-digit score conversion at maybe 20, which is usually like under 60% or so, I will just pull. I won't even have you do maybe 21. I'll just say, nah, you're going to back to UWorld incorrects for an entire month. So I allow a mild fail on 20 and 21, 190, 196 score conversion. But when you get to NBME 22 onward, any fail, I will usually pull the student out. So I say now you have to get a 197 plus, and I incentivize it where if you're my student, okay, you're watching this and you're my student, and I were to say to you, if you get like a fail on NBME 22, you're gonna have to do an entire additional month of UWorld incorrects or whatever, and postpone your exam a month. You're gonna be like, really? What the fuck? Like, no, hell no. Like, I don't want to do that. I'll be like, okay, I agree with you. That sucks. That's why my advice is to do well in the NBMEs then. So it's like incentive. It's like, we'll do well, and then you don't have to have this like shitty postponement that like you're not a fan of. Like, that's what I do. Okay, so I know how to get people not to fail. So it's like, if you don't want to fucking fail, my advice is do well. Otherwise, you got to go back to QBank for like an entire month and you're gonna do UWorld incorrects. Pragati says, just want to say thank you. Samuel24 says 243 on step 2 CK. Is that enough for internal medicine peds? That's so funny. MX, I just see your $65 notification. You fucking serious, MX? That's super fucking nice of you. I'm gonna see it as I scroll down, but I just saw the notification pop up. $65 super chat. That's fucking insane, dude. I really fucking appreciate it. You're a fucking good guy or gal. But I'm not ignoring. If you asked a question, I'm not ignoring it. I'll scroll down and see it in the chat. Samuel24 says 243 on step 2 CK. Is that enough for internal medicine / pediatrics? That's a trolling question because clearly that's fucking high. Like, 80% of my students are just trying to fucking pass. Probably 80% of you guys watching this are just hoping to pass. So 243 is like, that's really strong. Hassan says, how to retain farm as well as micro, because I'm in 3rd year. I study it for the first time, but I have to give my test in August. Any advice? Look, farm and micro, I've got farm modules on my site on the free stuff tab. So the PDFs, if you scroll below the PDFs, you'll see I've got biochemistry modules, I've got pharmacology modules. Those are free. And then of course I have paid Anki, but I've got the free modules there. And look, some people, of course, micro, my high yield dermatology PDF is loaded with micro. Okay. And I've got PowerPoints on the YouTube for micro. I've got the MCQ playlist, like the actual YouTube MCQs, but I've got a special PowerPoint playlist with like 45-minute PowerPoint presentations on micro. Maybe some of you didn't know that. Okay. Like actual like 45-minute micro PowerPoints. Holy shit. On my, as one of my playlists on the YouTube. So you can use that. And then there's the elephant in the room where some people like sketchy for farm and micro. There's nothing wrong with sketchy insofar as you knock out the tetrad, okay? The tetrad, of course, being QBank, PDFs, YouTube MCQs, and the NBME exams. If I never want it to be a situation where you are doing sketchy because you fucking love it, but you're not doing QBank as a result. Like, we don't want that. Okay, you say, oh, I can only get through 30 questions a day. I said 40 to 80 in a day, okay? Where you say I'm only getting through 30 questions in a day, but I'm like sitting with my sketchy. I don't fucking want that, okay? So some of you learn through like pictorial type associations. I've already said fucking flying animals and colors and glitter and shit. So some of you learn that way. It's okay. Just make sure you're getting through your QBank questions and my PDFs and my YouTube MCQs. Let me just find the question. Where was I? Um, gloomy goose says, hello, how are you doing? I'm doing well, gloomy goose. Sandhya Varsha says, please, Mike, make this video available offline almost 1 a.m. on my side. Thanks. Well, if it's 1 a.m., you must be in Asia because it's 3:45 a.m. for me right now. Yeah, these live streams after I'm done, they become a tab on my YouTube. You can watch them after. Wakar Syed says, what CMS forms do you suggest for last minute step 2 study? I recommend, if you can't do all the CMS forms, then I want you to do internal medicine surgery at a minimum. So those are the priority CMS forms if you can't get through all of them. But I'd say it's very audacious for you to sit the step 2 without getting through all the CMS forms. I've said do all the CMS forms twice. So you need to get through all of them. But internal medicine and surgery are a priority if you're forced into a position where you're not able to do all of them. Hey, Dr. Mehlman, passed my comp exam using your method, forms 20 through 30 and free 120. It should be 31. However, today I just found out I also failed step. That's so annoying. Didn't have time to complete all of UWorld. Would you advise to look? And then you also said, should I continue UWorld? Maybe switch over to Amboss for more questions. Yeah, I mean, look, it's super annoying. In your situation, I would normally sit with you and like do a more extensive discussion, right? I mean, that's what it requires. But I would, yeah, I'd ask you about your NBME exams, the dates you took them, and I would potentially have you either go through just the NBMEs again right away, or I'd have you do at least a month of QBank. Probably a month of QBank is what you're going to do. You're going to go back through your QBank incorrects before going back to NBMEs 20 through 31 and free 120. We could potentially use a UWSA as a fresh assessment. I've said that could be one utility for using UWSAs because I don't ordinarily advise doing them. Or you could even use like offline NBME 19 or something. Shea Gamer Giant Revied says 91% on UWorld. No, 91% UWorld completed with 58% correct. And maybe 20, 199. So you just fucking passed 197 internal, 61% correct. That makes sense. I thought about a 60 is about a pass for maybe 20. And maybe 21, 201, 62% correct. Yeah, you're a borderline case. Do I go back to UWorld incorrects to continue with the NBMEs? Your exam is a month. You're going to continue with the NBMEs. So you're borderline. So what you're going to do, obviously I want to see 205 to 210 plus equivalent, Shay. But what you're going to do is continue with the NBMEs. We're looking for that 205, 210 plus. If you take a fail on any of the NBME exams, you are stopping immediately whatever you're doing. You're going to postpone an entire month and you're going to do QBank, okay, for an entire month. So if you don't want that, if you're like, that sounds really shitty, I don't want to do that, my advice is to pass all of the NBMEs. Shoot for 205, 210 plus. Okay, that's what we want. 199 and a 201, obviously it's a pass compared to the 197 pass mark, but I don't like people YOLOing. I don't like that that's not enough of a buffer. I don't sign off on that. Okay. If you're one of my students and you're getting like a 199, 201 on like all your fucking forms, I don't like that. I would tell you, if it would be a discussion where the student wants to fucking like sit and I tell the student, I'm like, I'm not okay with you sitting, even though you're just barely passing. If the school's not forcing you to sit, I want you to postpone your entire month of QBank. Okay. So it's a thought to consider. Okay. But we want those two. You can continue through the NBMEs for now. But if you get to maybe like form 27, 28, and you're not starting to improve where you're getting 205 to 210 plus, I might just tell you, look, we have to think about pulling you out and having you do a month of QBank before going back to the NBMEs. Okay, that's the type of discussion I'd be having with you. Carol Martha says, unrelated question: is dermatology absolutely hard for IMGs, or it's about contacts and ass kissing with 250 score? 250 is not high enough for dermatology. I know someone who had a 259 on step 2 who didn't match in a derm, and 2 review articles and who had many articles. You're saying 2 review articles for someone with a derma and surgery back. It doesn't matter. It's anecdotal. It's anecdotal. Don't let me be an asshole who's going to deter you. I mean, but because there's individual differences. Okay, don't let me be that asshole. But like anecdotally, I know someone who happened to have a 259 on step two, who had a mid 240s for the numerical step one, who had like 20 plus research articles, who did not match in a dermatology. Okay, that's why I say like research is like it's overrated. It's like it doesn't mean jack shit. Um, there is a lot of like nepotism. There is a lot. It's about whom you know that matters. Okay, whom you know, and you can't have entitlement. I've said that the biggest mistake you can make when you're applying is to not apply into transitional years and preliminary years. So, for example, you want to apply into derm, right? So you're going to list all your like 80 4-year categorical derm programs. And then after you list your 80 derm programs, you're going to apply into, let's say, like 50 prelim years that are 1-year programs. So if you don't get into one of your top 80 categorical programs for derm, that you can still match into one of your prelim years. Okay. And then under that, maybe transitional years. It's a long discussion, but you get into a 1-year program and then you apply from that 1-year program into a PGY2 at a program if they allow it, or you just apply again as a PGY1 in a categorical program. People are in a rush to get through the 4-year categorical programs because they want their high income as an attending sooner. It makes sense, but there's nothing wrong with doing an intern year as like a prelim or transitional year and gaining more experience and then reapplying, getting a letter at a new institution. Imagine this. Imagine you're an IMG, okay? You want to apply in a derm and you don't match into a categorical program. You're all depressed. But you get like a 1-year intern year, a 1-year prelim year at like Mount Sinai or at like a decent institution somewhere. And even though you wanted a 4-year categorical program, you get a prelim year. Now all of a sudden you can get a letter from someone at Mount Sinai and like, holy shit, like that's pretty good, isn't it? And like now you can pivot and increase your chances of matching into somewhere else. Or maybe like while you're on your prelim year, you're like, holy shit, I really like peds. I didn't realize I really like peds. And then you end up applying into pediatrics. Like that's how it works. Okay. That's not abnormal. That's pretty typical. Okay. Like when you ask people how they got interested in something, it tends to not be so linear. So trying to find the last comment I was at right now. Wakar Syed says, which CMS forms? I already answered that. Yulun Zhang says, rewritten. Step 2 is July 31st. 2 weeks of dedicated, then rotation. July is 4 days a week. During July is 4 days a week, only half days in hospital. 1,500 Qs of UWorld, NBME 10 done 3 weeks ago. Dude, even this rewritten question, Yulun Zhang, is like too much for me to handle right now. It's like trying to read like a 15-line fucking like 2CK question. I have to like digest that. Look, you got a 2. I've already said, the fact that you had a 200 on NBME 10, which is a fail, you need a 214 to pass 2CK. I would postpone your exam if you can, and I would get through all the CMS forms. You need to postpone. I don't like that 200 on NBME 10. I don't like that. Even though you're 6 weeks out, I mean, you got to realize that like, your entire application is your 2CK score. So I would have to sit with you because you have other questions now. You say, well, I can't postpone, right? Like, I mean, I get it. So there's going to be factors to consider. I would normally sit with you and discuss those things, but I don't like that 200. You need 214 to pass. So you're not close right now. So Mohammed, you got to basically go back to QBank for a while, then do the CMS forms. Then you got to take another shot at the MBMEs. Mohammed Al-Khaldi says, how important are the CMS forms? I have a few friends studied only UWorld and got 272 to 266. If I'm short in time, review NBMEs or CMS forms. I've said the CMS forms are vital for your prep. I've said that repeatedly. So you have to do the CMS forms twice for 2CK. If you're not doing the CMS forms, you're a fucking idiot. Okay, I mean, it would be like going into the step 1, not sitting NBMEs 20 through 31. Like, it'd be really stupid. So I want you to do all the CMS forms twice. I've said that. Marisa Gaspara says, what should I be scoring on my incorrects? is in UWorld and is doing UWorld incorrects better than doing Amboss after I'm done with UWorld a good plan. I don't care what you're scoring when you're incorrects, the same way I don't care what you're scoring when you're going through QBank for the first time. And whether we move you to UWorld incorrects or whether we have you do Amboss, like a different QBank, that's also a subjective push that I will consider if we were meeting one-on-one. I would say it probably doesn't matter too much, okay? I don't know if you're studying for step 1 or step 2 right now. If you're studying for step 1, I would see how you do on the NBME exams. If you're studying for step 2, I'd push you through the CMS forms, have you come back and sit the NBME so that I can make an assessment as to what I want to do. Muhammad Al-Khaldi says, I don't know what that comment was in relation to before. Raza Abbas says, UWSA 1, 230. NBME 25, 195, it's a fail. NBME 26, 210, okay. NBME 24, 210, UWorld 85% is 58% correct. What am I doing wrong? What should I do to jump my score other than doing your PDFs? You do my YouTube MCQs. Go through high yield arrows. I don't know when your exam is as well. I'd want to know when your exam is, how much time we have. That's huge. And I'd need to know when your exam is. Raza Abbas says, love your videos. Thanks, Raza. Daniel Stein, thank you very much for the $10 super chat. I really fucking appreciate it. Okay, so it's not underappreciated in any regard. Thank you very much, Daniel Stein. I really appreciate that $10 super chat. And then you say ramen on me. Thanks for the pass. Thank you, fucking Daniel Stein. Yeah, I will. I will have a ramen. The ramens I eat actually are like, they're more expensive because I tend to get like double meat, triple meat. Let me see. I don't want to lose where I was in the chat. Where the fuck was I? Scroll up. Your comment was yellow. And if those of you, I see some other super chats. I'm not ignoring you guys. I'll scroll down and thank you guys when I see you down below. Don't worry. But I tend to get like double meat, triple meat ramen, which can be like $15 or more. There's a really, I have to stay on the medicine right now. Okay. I'll do non-medical talk later. But there's a really good ramen place in my neighborhood that it's spicy ramen, kata miso ramen. And I get like double, triple meat after the gym. It's fucking amazing. And let's see, it's good with a beer too, but that's calories. And I try to avoid that for the most part. Even though I got wasted 2 days ago. I went to an onsen, which is a hot springs 2 days ago. I got wasted. So I had 2 massive bottles of sake and some beers and some plum wine, which is called umeshu. But thank you, Daniel. Edward Perez says Lego was for the likes, Mike. Edward Perez, oh, Lego. Thanks to Let's Go. Got it, dude. Mark Delic says, just past step 1, I had NBMEs around 80%. My last one was 87%. Those are fucking massive scores. How much of this info transfers to step 2 because I want to do it ASAP? I understand the sentiment that you'd want to sit your step 2 CK ASAP. I get that. But you have to remember that the score is like 95% of your application. So even if you're able to sit at ASAP, let's say, and get like a 265 on step 2, you're so amazing. I mean, why would you rush it? Why not just do like all of QBank, like I've talked about, and do all the CMS forms, not once, but twice, and NBME 6 through 13, including free 120. Why not do all of that and then get like a 279 or something, right? Like if you're clearly capable of a big score, why not like do what you need to do to get it? That's my view. I wouldn't shortchange yourself. Dima says, yeah, I'm from Ukraine, currently in Israel. That's right. And you ate shawarma a few days ago. Good, dude. I'll vicariously I vicariously would want that shawarma. Suhaib Jabbar says, hey, Mike, bro, I want to thank you first for every words you write in the PDFs. I like it. And I studied in my last 3 months, bro. I want to ask you, I get my exam before 2 weeks ago. Bro, I want to ask you, what are you asking me? Did you ask me a question? No, you just thanked me. All right, well, thanks, dude. NS2 says, I've gone through UWorld twice, once during clinical and after. I've now started Amboss. I've done almost all the CMS forms and all NBMEs, except 12 and 13, UWSA2 suggestions. You didn't have to do UWorld twice. You just start AMBOSS, all the CMS forms. I said do all the CMS forms twice. Your plan, I don't know, like, are you on, you said once during clinical and after. NS2, I don't know your exact situation right now in terms of where you are with rotations. Like, are you still on rotations? Are you post-grad? I'm confused about what your actual situation is. But I've said for 2CK, guys, 2 passes of all the CMS forms. Hussam Kiwan says, greetings, 2 months till my step 2 exam. 85% of UWorld done. What should I do? NBMEs versus marked questions. 2 months till your step 2 exam. I would postpone because you need to finish UWorld, which isn't going to be long for you. It could be like a week to 2 weeks. And then you need 7 weeks at least for all the CMS, 6 to 7 weeks for a double pass of all the CMS forms. And you need at least like a week and a half, 2 weeks I'd say 2 weeks for the NBME exams. So I'd like postpone maybe like 2 weeks. I'd have to calculate that out. But if you can't postpone, then I would just switch to the CMS forms because I want you to get double pass of all those forms done. Tanya Mitwali says, hi, Mike, 2CK in 6 weeks. Already done with first pass of CMS forms. During rotations and only 50% of UWorld done. Should I focus on CMS NVMEs or should I continue UWorld? By the way, I love your teaching style. 2CKs in 6 weeks. First pass, 50% done with UWorld. You should be postponing. You're not ready. You need to get 100% of UWorld done. You need to do another pass of all this. I wouldn't have touched the CMS forms unless you meant because you're on rotations. That's why. Like if you're on rotations, so you finished UWorld with the CMS forms on rotations, that's your first pass, quote unquote. If you're post-grad, don't touch the CMS forms prior to finishing UWorld. If you're on rotations, obviously you're doing them together simultaneously. I understand that. But you need to finish UWorld. You need to do a second pass of all the CMS forms. If you can't postpone your exam, you need to move to the CMS forms like soon. And then you need to make sure you finish NBME 6 through 13, including free 120. Suhaib Jabbar says, the exam was very tough. I take all the NBMEs from form 18 to 31. Okay, so you went the extra mile. You went prior to 20. Champion, yet to start UWorld exam 7 months away. USMLE RX giving predicted score of 270. How reliable is that? Why are we using USMLE RX as a predictive score of 270? I mean, sit an NBME exam. That's what we want to see. But clearly you're not in trouble. SoulCal24 says, Mike, you talk a lot about the Tetrad, UWorld PDFs, NBMEs, YouTube MCQs. Like in what order during the day? I've already said this numerous times. So what you're going to do is UWorld 40 questions in the morning. You're going to have lunch. And then you're going to have the YouTube MCQs and my PDFs is the second half of the day. If you don't want to do that stuff because you're like ADHDing out, you can also just do more QBank questions, maximum of 80. Raza Abbas says, I found your biochem PDF too overwhelming. Please advice of what to do. I hate biochem. Go through my YouTube MCQ playlist for biochem. And I'm not saying that just as like a generic response. I say this genuinely, and it's also anecdotal that like I've had students where they've literally fucking said the same thing. Okay, like I know a girl, for instance, where she said the same fucking thing, where she found my biochem PDF overwhelming, and what she did was she went through my biochem YouTube playlist first. Then she went through the biochem PDF and she found that it was easier to tackle the PDF because she learned important concepts from my questions. Okay, so that's one way to tackle it. Switch over to the YouTube MCQs and then come back to the PDF. Okay. Kathy Frame, what should I keep in mind? You're the one who asked me about chess, aren't you? Kathy Frame, what should I keep in mind for USMLE prep for an undergraduate entry med student? Kathy, that's such a generic question. You're in first year. I would say you could knock out a QBank early while you're in first year. You can get step 1 out of the way early. And yeah, I would just say study really hard now, get through QBank questions early while you're in first year. And then you'll have no problem breezing through the pass for step 1 at the end of second year. And then you can have a very solid foundation prepping for 2CK. That's what it is. Just while you're in first year, start QBank. champion how to rock OBGYN rotations. Our curriculum requires us to read textbooks along with your OBGYN PDF. Are there any good books? Champion, I have a very fucking good piece of input here. The answer is there's a special OBGYN Q bank called UWISE, not UWorld, UWISE, UWISE. That's just OBGYN questions. So for rotations that are hard hitting for OBGYN, you can do holy shit, UWISE Q bank. Okay. And that can boost your OBGYN scores. So yes, the YouTube MCQs, the OBGYN PDF, and you can do UWISE QBank, okay, in addition to just Amboss or UWorld. AFM says, I'm an IMG who failed USMLE step 1 in first attempt. Which resources should I focus on to not fail again? Did you do all my resources, AFM? The Tetrad? Did you do all those? That's what you want to do. You need to get through all of QBank. Those of you who failed, I say to you simply, I'm like, did you do all of the QBank? Did you do all my PDFs? Do all my YouTube MCQs? The answer is usually no. Okay, so at the bare fucking minimum, look, you got to get through QBank in its entirety. Get through QBank and corrects as well. There's a lot to talk about if you've taken a fail. Anthony says, you said don't make Anki cards on incorrects for QBank and make cards for USMLE. I've been making cards on your online QBank questions. Waste of time or look, I'm flattered. Okay, so aren't I flattered if you've been making Anki cards from my YouTube MCQ questions? I've said you don't need to make Anki cards, period, not from QBank. You don't need to make Anki cards from my YouTube MCQs. I wouldn't even make Anki cards necessarily for my PDFs. There's those of you who want my PDFs as like Anki style. I personally don't think it's necessary. Okay. The only thing you need to make Anki cards for are the NBME exams for your incorrects when you get there for 20 through 31 and free 120. Okay, I've made other clips talking about that. So that's the only thing I need you making Anki cards for. Carol Martha, you are real unpretentious and brilliant, and you gave me $5 on the super chat here. Thank you, Carol Martha. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate that, Carol Martha. Abudus94 says, I failed step 1 and 4+ year gap. Any chance to match into what is I don't know what you're asking. Any chance to match into a specialty? You can match if you've taken a fail on step 1. I mean, obviously it's not ideal. There's going to be places that eliminate you guys, but like you can match family medicine, internal medicine, OBGYN, peds, psych, you can match. Maybe some places for surgery as well. You just have to not be entitled. You have to apply broadly, apply to fucking like, Kentucky and apply to Mississippi. Okay. Apply broadly and apply to transitional years and prelim years. You can't have entitlement. Okay. So you got to apply broadly. AJ Aragala says exams in 2 months. Which NBME should I do first? And what's a good cutoff on NBME to pass step 1? About 2/3 is what we want on the NBME exams. I've said, dude, start with NBME 20. Shabnam Tarvat says, how to prep for neuro, step 1. I've got 2 neuro PDFs. I've got a neuroanatomy PDF and also just like a regular neuro PDF. Just do both of those. They're fucking excellent PDFs. The neuroanatomy is one of the most popular PDFs on my site. Nakia Brooks, thank you for the $5 super chat. Really fucking appreciate it, Nakia. Okay, very, very much appreciated. William says, hey, Mike, I'm doing UWorld like you said, but I'm not able to do more than 30 to 35 a day. What should I do? The answer is you will do 40 per day minimum. There's no fucking excuses. Okay, stop crying. Like you got to do 40 a day. Like what is stopping you from going from 30 to 35 to 40? Like, so you got to do 40. All right. But if it's literally a situation where you're struggling, I've said do blocks of 10. Okay. I've made YouTube clips on this. I'm not going to do a lengthy discussion on, I fucking could. We're on a live stream. Why not just do it? Right. But I said, if you're having trouble getting through QBank, do blocks of 10. Okay. And you can be very efficient knocking out solitary blocks of 10. If a student is still having trouble getting through 40 questions as a quota, I will switch him or her into timed mode, which I know you don't want to do. So tutor untimed tutor random mode is ideal for QBank for macro retention. But if a student is unable to get through tutor untimed random blocks of 10, I will say, if you can't get 40 done, I'm going to force the quota by having you do a timed block of 40. Okay. And that's how we're going to have to move through QBank. So, and then if the student says, well, I can't review all the explanations, then that's it. It's tough luck. Okay. At some point, there has to be accountability, and I can't hold your hand. Okay. The entire time. So it's like, if it literally is like, you can't get through your 40 questions, and even after time mode, you can't review everything, I just say tough luck. So Suhaib Jabbar says, I get in on my last three NBMEs, I had 64, 64, 62% borderline scores. I get out from the exam. I don't know what I did. I get everything from your PDFs and all the NBMEs from 1831. I feel I'm not sure about anything. I mean, what do you want me to say right now? You want me to be your therapist, Suhaib? No, I'm just joking, man. Look, I mean, obviously, use my PDFs to boost your scores. You got to review those NBMEs hardcore. I've said make Anki cards from your incorrects, okay? Mr. Clever, I know you said FA is not worth it. How about just looking at the rapid review? Someone asked earlier about the rapid review. I said it's perfectly fine to do. I said rapid review is more like an ostensible / nominal check mark. Like there's nothing wrong with doing rapid review at the end of FA. It's no problem. It's just I've said FA overall, now that the exam is pass fail, it's superfluous. Okay, like it's nothing negative about FA. It's just it's a pass fail exam now. And FA, you've had 2+ decades where that tome, that compendium is focused around a numerical step one that is no longer. So that's why FA is superfluous. Thank you for supporting us, GT. Yeah, $5 super chat. I really appreciate it. I think I saw it earlier and I thanked you, but I really appreciate the $5. I appreciate all you guys who've paid for super chats here. Really fucking appreciate it. Varun Sunil says it is 3,700 plus. Exactly. Yeah, UWorld is 3,700 plus for step one, not 3,300 plus. Jelly Singh says, hey, my school requires us to pass Kaplan comp exam. Yeah. In order to sit for step. I think AUA is doing that now, or they will be transitioning to that. How would you recommend studying for it? Annoyingly, it's just QBank. Kaplan, I could go on a long Jeremiah about Kaplan. Kaplan is superfluous. Okay, I mean, very nitpicky. Kaplan only still has relevance in USMLE prep because it's B2B, which means business to business, meaning B2C is business to consumer. So UWorld and Amboss, they're more B2C. I'm telling you guys, do Amboss, UWorld. Those are the standard QBanks. But Kaplan is they have contractual agreements with medical schools for medical schools, business to business. They'll do the Kaplan course. They'll sign. Kaplan will make arrangements for the school. All their students do Kaplan course or Kaplan exams. That's the realm the domain that Kaplan exists in now. But I mean, the fact that students can't pass the comp exams, Kaplan's reaping the benefits. And the reason students aren't passing the comp exams is because they don't fucking do NBMEs 20 through 31. It's not dramatic. I could go to any fucking med school, and if I were to run the USMLE program at any med school, I would just have the students be from day one in first year medicine. I'd have students start with NBME 1. You'd be doing CBL, PBL. I don't know if some of you guys have that group discussion stuff. Rather than doing arbitrary cases that the teachers make up at the school, it would be an NBME a week or something, or review of certain NBME comp documents. That's what it would be. Let's see. Med Amir says, where can I find your files? The free stuff tab, my website. Brick Martin says, I'm only just now prepping for MCAT, but I'm hoping your stuff is still relevant when I'm in med school. Of course, it's still going to be relevant. I'm going to be making, I update my stuff as we move through. So don't worry, dude. I mean, you're doing MCAT right now, but yeah, clearly it's a USMLE focus. You'll be good. Same here. I'm prepping for Emperor Palpatine says, same here. I'm prepping for MCAT, and I just watch this for fun. Irresistible Medico says, which PDF are highest yield for TCK? I would say, well, they're all good, but I would say for sure, I still want you doing cardiopulmonary renal gastro. Those will cover internal medicine. And the 4 high yield mixed reviews are very good for step 2. You got surgery, peds, obs, guy, and you want to do all of them, like literally. Osama Nagy says 4 weeks out. Should I study MBME's 2024? Because I used most of the recent ones. The answer is yes. I'd want to chat with you about your actual schedule, really, because I'd want to know how you did on 25 through 31 free 120, and I'll potentially have you sit those yet again as though you've never sat them to prep you for 20 through 24 again. Or I might have you do QBank questions. I might have you do, depending on how shitty your scores are, I could even have you do like a month of QBank and then come back and you're going to redo NBME's 25 through 31 and free 120. And then I would have you do 20 through 24. Ajsa says, define unemotionally when I talk about moving through QBank. It means don't get bogged down. Don't get emotional about your day-to-day fluctuations in QBank. I've said that. Like you guys, like, some of you are going to get like, 35% on a block in QBank and you're like freaking out and like sad about it. And then that affects your progress. Like, I'm not trying to get into like cliche philosophical bullshit. Okay. That's literally not the direction I want to go down. Trust me. But like, you have to realize that the psychological part of the aspect of becoming a doctor and passing these exams, it's psychological, where like if you're in a fucking surgery, if you're a surgeon and there's some emotional stimulus like during the middle of the surgery, like you have to be able to handle it, and you can't get like all perturbed, and like you have to be able to have strength and pertinacity in your ability to push through, even this in the setting of stimuli. So it's like moving through QBank, if you're getting like 40%, you got to just say, all right, and then just sort of agnostically acknowledge it, and then just move through, continue to make progress through QBank. I mean, that's what it is. Toby says, tell us how it was the hot bath you took yesterday. How was the trip? Yeah, Toby, let me answer that right now. I got to stay focused on med cues, because once I switch into non-medical questions, my brain is not going to be able to go back to medical stuff. But I went to a hot springs. I mentioned that I went to a hot springs in Onsen, like 3 hours north of here, like a couple days ago. It was a really fucking good onsen. It was like $1,000 a night. Animal cruelty help. Hello, the greatest tutor ever. I watched most of your vids except questions, so I probably heard a few that you suggested how to finish in a month. I have finished first aid in depth. Did you not have a question, animal cruelty? Ahmed Goma says, hey man, 232 on step 1, 263 on step 2. Is that good enough for something like ortho as an IMG? Yes, it is. Your scores are solid, dude. Look, I mean, they're not going to look at your 232 step 1. That's going to be blinded. Okay, so you sat that. That's going to be blinded. They're not going to have it where like some of you with a numerical step 1 and those of you who have a past step 1, like they're not going to have it where it's both exposed. Like it's just going to be blinded. And then the 263 step 2. Anecdotally, I know someone who matched into ortho with a 235 at a good institution, okay, a top institution, but the guy had rotated at that institution. So, I mean, that's your interview. If you rotate at an institution, you can get in with lower scores. It's often about whom you know. Soman Avezov says, hey, Mike, my exam is in September. Right now, 67% done with UWorld. Percentiles are bad. Any advice? I've answered this question like 19 times so far in this live chat. I've said if you're trying to get through UWorld and your scores are shitty, unemotionally, just move through the QBank and do my YouTube MCQs and PDFs. Animal cruelty. My question is, if you only have 1 month to take the exam, and I have learned most concepts well, but still haven't done any UWorld, can I bypass it all and just do NBME now? I don't want you doing that. But if you're forced, if it's a situation where, and I get this quite a bit, if a student comes to me and the school says, fuck you, you have to sit in like 3.5 weeks, no questions asked, or we're kicking you out. Like, okay, I mean, there's situations where we'll just do the NBMEs and I'll tell the student, I'll be like, I don't want you to do the NBMEs right now. I don't think it's a good time. I'd rather have you do QBank first, to boost you for the NBME exams. But, there can be a time and place so that if there's those constraints in place, that I will just have a student go straight to the NBME exams. But I don't want you bypassing QBank if at all possible. If you're not constrained with time, I don't want you bypassing QBank. Azjad Abbas, even if you're performing well. Azjad Abbas says, you just said only pass in step 2 CK to match. Is that applicable to IMGs as well? The answer is yes, but you have to, as I said, apply into prelim and transitional years. The way that IMGs, or just anyone, the way that people don't match is they only apply in a categorical, which are the 4-year or like 5-year programs. Okay, the full length programs. You have to apply into preliminary and transitional years as well, and you have to be able to be willing to go to a place like, fucking Wyoming or something. Okay, like you have to be willing to. You can't be entitled as far as where you want to go into what program. A lot of it's entitlement. You could think of not matching as like weeding out a percentage, not many people, but I'm just saying a percentage of people where there's entitlement. Maybe like 15% or 20% of people are just too fucking entitled. And if they had just applied to prelim and in transitional years, they would have matched. Lots of lettuce. How the fuck do you come up with a username like that? Like, what is the story behind that? Like, did you get like traveler's diarrhea in Mexico or something? Lots of lettuce. Like, how did that? How do you create like a username like that? How can I memorize? Or is that like a throwaway name? Like you get like a throwaway phone or something? How can I memorize UWorld info for TCK? Should I take notes or not? No, I've said don't annotate and don't make Anki. Danish Ali says I started step 2 CK prep. I'm doing UWorld right now. I'm 600 questions in. I'll be doing these CMS forms also. I'm doing rotations also, so I have limited time. What should be the best thing to sit in August? You said you're on rotations right now. Look, I mean, you got to fit in obviously QBank questions for the rotations you're on, but I'd say at a minimum before you sit, I want you doing 2 passes of all the CMS forms, as I've said 27 times in this live stream so far, and you're going to do my PDFs and YouTube MCQs. So I'd have to sit with you and discuss your plan. Now, Kia Brooks, I see you're a member of my channel because your name is green. Everyone else's is gray. So I see you're a member because your name is green. And I see the icon, the Mehlmanmedical icon next to your name. So I appreciate you being a member of my channel. I actually saw you because I see new members. I think I saw you like become a member like several days ago. It was recent. I saw that, and so thank you. I appreciate that. Once I pass, I can donate more. LOL. I appreciate that. Ajsa Karasik says, I've never seen someone be so nice with such a straight face before. Well, people are like hysterical about me not like smiling and laughing enough. People are like, you need to like smile more, Michael. Stand and deliver. I'm seeing your $65 super chat. I acknowledged it before, but I finally scrolled down in the chat. So I just want to say thank you again. That's a huge fucking donation, dude. Or gal. I really fucking appreciate it. You stood and delivered. That's what you did. So Emperor Palpatine says, holy shit, big donation. I agree. Thank you. Ahmed Mabushar or Mubashar. Should I do your NBME Anki after finishing all of NBME? You're asking how to go through the Anki when I've said, so guys, you watching this, I've said make Anki cards if you're incorrect from NBME. That's a long fucking discussion. It's not after, it's during. You're doing stacked NBME review. So, for example, you're going to do NBME 20. I said I'll do all the NBMEs over 2 days. Some of you might come into the live stream more recent. Others have been here, but I've talked about some of these things already. But all the NBMEs over each one for 2 days. But you're going to screenshot your incorrects from each NBME into Anki. You're going to make 2 Anki decks. You're going to make a giant Anki deck for 20 through 24 and free 120. So 20 through 24, that's 5 NBMEs. And free 120, so that's 6 forms. And then you're going to have a second Anki deck for 25 through 31. Okay. And so As you move through the NBMEs, you're going to redo the incorrects from the prior forms repeatedly. So let's say you finish NBME 22 and all the review and you screenshot those incorrects into the Anki with 2021. Now you're going to re-review the incorrects from 2021. You finish NBME 23 after you screenshot all the incorrects from 23 into the Anki deck with 20, 21, 22. Now you're going to redo all the incorrects from 20, 21, 22. You finish free 120 and review free 120 in its totality. And then you're going to redo all the incorrects from 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Then when you finish 20 through 24 and free 120, you're going to have 3 days of no Anki where you're going to do 20 and 21 back to back on a single day, all 400 questions, but you just fucking did those forms. You've been reviewing all those incorrects. So it's not going to be too crazy. Like, and there's no Anki. So 2021 together, 400 questions, 22, 23, 400 questions, 24 and free 120, 320 questions total. It's 3 days, no Anki. And then the door closes on 20 through 24 and free 120 forever. You're never viewing those forms again for the rest of your entire life. And then you have a second fresh Anki deck that you're starting for 25 through 31. And you're going to stack review as you move through. Okay. Some of you understand the pattern. You get my point. Others, you're still tenuous on it. But let's say you finish review of NBME 28, you screenshot those incorrects into the Anki with 25, 26, 27. Then you're going to redo those incorrects again from 25, 26, 27, etc. So you're going to be memorizing all the fucking NBMEs and you're doing all of them twice. So that's literally, it's a lot of fucking questions. That's how I get students to pass. I know what I'm doing. So Abelard Does Roris says, PEDS shelf tips, please. Obviously, the PEDS questions from QBank, you're going to do all 8 pediatrics forms twice, the CMS forms twice. You're going to do the YouTube MCQs that I have. Okay, PEDS PDF. That's what you got to do. Ozjedabas says there's no such thing as Mehlman Anki. Well, not for my PDFs, but I have Biochem and Pharm Anki on my site. There's people who've made like bootleg Anki decks of my PDFs, which are not my fucking content. I had someone, it's a troll. I had someone DM me saying like that here they're showing me like an error in an Anki deck that someone else fucking made of my PDFs. I'm like, I didn't fucking make that Anki deck. Let's see. Savannah F says, hello. Do you have any general advice for keeping up with school curriculum and studying for step 1 as a rising M2, MS2? General advice, I mean, that is a very general question. You have to get through QBank. That's what you have to do throughout your second year. You got to just make good progress through questions through your second year. You can't be lazy. Okay, a lot of people get to the point of sitting there, they're step 1 and they haven't finished UWorld or AMBOSS and say, well, what have you fucking been doing the first 2 years of med school? Like, you have to go through the QBank. Ashley Dawson, can I do well with just doing your PDFs, YouTube, and NBMEs 9 through 13 and free 120 and some CMS forms for TCK? I may not have time to get through NBMEs 1 through 8. You don't have to do 1 through 8. I said 6 through 8. Should I try and suck it up and rush through NBME 6 through 8? Yes, you will do NBME 6 through 8. Is it worth it? Step 2 CK. Look, I mean, I have to sit down with you, chat this out. I wouldn't want you forgoing any of the material because you have to recognize that your step 2 CK score fucking matters, right? If it literally is a situation where you're time constrained and no, you can't postpone, you need to get through, not some of the CMS forms. You have to get through all the CMS forms. I really want you doing that. Okay, you got to do everything in your power to get through all the CMS forms twice, ideally, and then give me 6 through 13 and free 120. I just lost the fucking question where I was. I'm scrolling up. Let me see. El Nur Muhammad says, which is better, UWorld or Amboss, knowing that I have Amboss subscription? I made a YouTube clip on this, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago. And I said that UWorld and Amboss are non-superior to each other. I get asked the same dumb questions repeatedly. It's nothing against you. It's because I can't have entitlement on my end. So when I answer a question, people ask the same fucking question, like, repeatedly. My world is like a twilight zone of like people asking the same dumb questions. Which is better, UWorld or Amboss? As I said, they're non-superior to each other. You can do either one. I made old YouTube clips like a couple of years ago where I said UWorld was better than Amboss. I don't view it that way anymore. I just view them as non-superior to each other. Like, I view it as like you can do either one. It doesn't matter. Ashley Dawson, also thank you for everything. You are the shit. You helped me pass my step one. Endocrine PDF was clutch, helping me then, and still helps me. That's cool. Yeah, endocrine PDF. That's good feedback actually. Because high yield arrows is like endocrine, right? It's a lot of endocrine physio, by the way, guys. But there's also just like a straight up high yield endocrine PDF, which is bullet points. And that PDF is, I've had a couple students recently specifically say high yield endocrine has helped them out a lot. I mean, all my PDFs fucking help. So, I mean, it's like that makes sense, right? Zodi Khalil says 1 week for step one. NBMEs and UWorld self assessments between 75 and 80%. It's high scoring. What are the chances of passing the real exam? It's a trolling question because you get people who are scoring like 55 to 60%, and they would pray to score 75 to 80%. So those are high scores. Mustafa Muhammad says, why don't you recommend some cuck resource that I'm not going to give oxygen to? He says, why don't you recommend Pathoma? I have nothing against Pathoma. People think I'm like, intentionally derogatory or something against, competing resources. It has nothing to fucking do with that. I'm agnostic about resources. I think it's overrated. Okay. I mean, that's my view. I'm not trying to be negative. It's just, it is in my view that Pathoma is essentially the written resource equivalent of some mediocre YouTube clip that goes viral. That's what it is. If you were to look at like all the advice videos on fucking YouTube, you'll get some random fucking like noob in some like Middle Eastern country somewhere holding up an FA, and the video will have like 200,000 views, and he's got like 80K subs with like 49 videos, and you're like, wow, the fuck does that happen? It's like, well, sometimes it happens, and I think that people tend to enter like a circuitry of like it's positive, like people parrot each other where people say like, do Mehlman's like neuroanatomy, biochemistry, immuno PDFs when they haven't even fucking done them themselves. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I agree, they're good PDFs, but like I'm the one fucking harping on doing cardiopulmonary gastro. And it's like people tend to Pathoma. I mean, I looked through, chapters 1 through 3, because that tends to be what's parroted around. And, my view as someone who has extensive USMLE experience and knowledge with the NBME exams, I say, okay, what's the relevance to what's the hype? Like, what's the relevance? It reads to me as very generic. As I said, this doesn't need to be a Jeremiah ad, okay, where it's something negative. It's agnostic viewpoints as far as I don't see it as necessary resource. So Milan Patel, but I addressed it because I get asked that question quite a bit. Milan Patel says, just past step one today. I want to set myself up well for studying for shells and 2CK. Any tips on what to do so I don't waste good resources, or what should I prioritize? You're just going to start with UWorld or Amboss for 2CK. That's what you're going to do. It's literally it. Obviously, my PDFs. Sudarshan Sharma says plastic surgery ? I've talked about appearance and looks in my other live streams, because I answered non-medical questions after. So I can answer questions like that after, I guess. Hut Shut says, if you do step 2 UWorld QBank during clinicals, should you do another QBank during clinicals? Do you mean after clinicals? The point is, you only need to do one QBank. Amboss UWorld, you only need to do one QBank. Or you asked during dedicated. So your question is, if you've done one QBank during clinicals such as UWorld, should you do a second QBank such as Amboss during dedicated? The answer is no, because I've already said you're going to be doing clinical mastery series and NBME exams. The clinical mastery series questions, depending on whether you get through 45, 50 forms, you're talking like, 2,000 to 2,500-ish questions. It's a lot of fucking questions. All right. So that can be thought of as like NBME CMS QBank. It's like a QBank. Okay. So that's what you could be doing during dedicated. I've said do that twice. Omar says, what to do in UWorld besides FM for FM shelf? I've already answered this. Some people do like ambulatory medicine. You could do internal medicine as well if you really want extra questions. You have a very long FM rotation. You could do FM questions from like Amboss and UWorld. I know I just fucking said you don't have to do two Q banks, but sometimes if people have, let's say, like a 12-week family medicine rotation and they're like, well, I don't have enough questions to do. What do I do? You can sometimes just do internal medicine questions from the same Q bank. You can do FM questions from another Q bank, but get through my high yield risk factors PDF in addition to the high yield family medicine PDF, and obviously my YouTube playlist for FM. Jared Shuck says, Melman, I took step 2 yesterday and your videos helped me so much. You're the best. Thanks, Jared. I appreciate it. Farzad Samira says, CMS forms, should I do randomly or each form separately? Good question. It's going to be random. That's a very good question. I can give you guys a value point here, which is if you're not on rotations, obviously if you're on like OBGYN, you're going to do just the OBGYN CMS forms at once. But a value point is if you're post-grad, for instance, and you're getting through all the CMS, you finished QBank and you go through all the CMS forms now, you do not have to do them all topics at once. Like you don't have to do, I'm going to do all 8 OBGYN, then all 8 peds, then all 8 internal medicine. You don't have to do that. Mix it up. Do like OBGYN 1, Surge 1. Then the next day do like peds 1, psych 1. Mix it up because it prevents burnout. Okay, it prevents burnout. And especially trying to get through all of the neuro and psych forms at once, very fucking dry and difficult. Okay, especially psych, very difficult to get through. Med with Amir says, should I use your YouTube vids while I'm still in round 1, step 1 prep? Yeah, I mean, I've said do my YouTube clips throughout. Maruk says, for step 1, I have not yet finished UWorld yet. 1,200 questions. I've hit the 2-hour mark. I might switch into non-med questions. Let me see if there's any super chats. I'm going to switch. What I'm going to do, I'm going to answer some more med questions, guys, but within like 10 minutes or so, I'm going to start switching into some non-medical questions. Okay. I've done 2 hours of just straight fucking med questions. I know some of you get real fucking salty where you're like, Michael, talk about medicine forever. I'm here to listen to your medicine talk. That's it. No, I get it. I mean, that's why you're fucking here. I totally get it. I've just been talking about medicine for 2 fucking hours. That's all. So we'll transition to some non-med questions after, and maybe within the next 10 minutes or so. Do I have any recommendations for the last few days of USMLE prep for step 1? High yield arrows is what you want to do. Ezbeta says, I just passed my step today thanks to your tips, videos, and PDFs. Thank you so much. Can you please give me a wrong fucking answer? Well, I put out those YouTube MCQs, don't I? I do. I put out 2 today. I put out 2 yesterday. And I put them out at like times that were not peak. So the views, I was aware that the views would be like slower to start. I didn't care. Because I know if I put out clips like, it's 4:37 a.m. in Japan right now. If I put out clips like at night my time, which is like morning for the US time, the views are higher initially, but I didn't give a fuck. I put out like clips like the middle of the night, the United States. I didn't give a fuck. I was just like, the views will be lower. I don't care. I just want to put the clips out. Rejuvenate Simple says, accountability is key to going through questions. Being unemotional is the best advice for life. Okay. You know, I agree with that, I guess. I'm starting to like transition into like not being able to process shit. This is why I said I've been answering questions for 2 fucking hours. So let's see. I'm going to transition to non-medical questions pretty soon. So if you have non-medical questions, you can write them below and I'll move down in the chat and get to them. But I'm just going to look at some of these other med questions that are here. Let's see. You're banking on a good 2CK score. Kathleen Matthews says, I did NBME 20 and I got a 102 out of 200. Yeah. What should I do next? I'm done with UWorld. Your exam's in a month. No, it's not. It's not your exam. Kathleen is not going to be in a month. You're going to postpone. NBME is way too low. You need look, I would chat with you one-on-one normally. I want you to go back to QBank and Corrects for an entire month. I really hope it's not a situation where your school has said, fuck you, and that you're not allowed to move the exam, because if it's a situation where you have to sit and your school is like, nope, you have to sit, I would literally get like a fucking doctor's note or something. Anything is better than taking a fail. And I know some of you have fails and you're already, okay. It's like, relax. You can match if you have a fail. It's just, it makes things a lot more difficult. But If you literally got a 51% on NBME a month out. Nah, you gotta postpone at least a month. I'd want you on QBank another month minimum, and then we could have you do NBME 20 again as though you've never done it. Obviously, you'll get a higher score because you just fucking did it. But we're not going to care about your score. You're just going to do it as review, and then you're going to sit NBME 21, and hopefully you do better, and then we can reevaluate at that point. But a minimum month postponement, minimum. Bavaria says, "Welcome back. I recognize your name from prior live stream. Is it okay to start UWorld without? Is it okay if I start UWorld without starting FA? It's a very cuck question. No. The FA era is over. I've already said this repeatedly. I want you to start questions. Yes, you're gonna start questions in the beginning of your prep. There's no like warm up. Like there's no like you have to read before starting questions. Okay, like no, you don't have to sit with my PDFs for like a month and then do questions. No. Just start questions and get a lot wrong. That's okay, guys. Get fucking 27% in QBank. Okay, I'm serious. You got to just start questions. Touching on the Jelly Singh says, touching on the Kaplan comp exam, besides doing the Kaplan test bank, should I also study the Kaplan textbooks? How laughable. No, absolutely not. How about UWorld NBME? I'm going to start answering non-medical questions very soon. So if you have non-medical questions, just write them in the chat below. I'm starting to scroll down to the final med questions here. Dina Fair says the king is back. Let's see. Masab Ali, all your numbers. Brandon Lee, a lot of fucking numbers there. Okay, I'm starting to go down to non-medical questions. Let's see. Mohammed, you asked about accreditation. Yeah, I'm going to transition non-medical questions. I've been answering fucking med questions for 2 hours and 5 minutes. So I'm caked, and it's 4:41 a.m. here, so I'm caked the fuck out right now. Let's see. Moogle 900 says, "Hey Mike, I just lost your question. It was a good question. Hey Mike, it seems my kittens are craving for meat. I don't have any. I'm afraid they would develop B12 deficiency and go mad." That's funny, dude. You're the one who asked about the milk before with your fucking kittens? That's funny, dude. Sokib Sato says, "We love you, Dr. Mike." Ricky Coco says, "What's up, Mehlman? Med student at UT Austin. No content question, just curious about your background / how you became an expert on STEP exams." I sat step 1 back in 2012, step 2 shortly after, and graduated medical school in 2016. Australia, I did my master's there as well. But I was tutoring since I finished, basically a decade since I finished STEP. And I worked for FA on the 2014, 2015 books. So I was an author for 2014. I was an editor for 2015. And I could have stayed on as a senior editor. If I gave a fuck, I could have stayed on, had my name on the front cover of First Aid. But I had to sign non-competition agreements for where I couldn't make my own content for years following me leaving FA. So that was a deal breaker for me because I knew I was going to create content at some point. And granted, it didn't occur until many years later, but yeah, I could have been senior editor of FA back then, but it's not what I wanted. But yeah, I've been tutoring USMLE for a decade. I mean, that's just going to build experience. I mean, I don't really know what to say. It's like that with anything, right? So I know what's on the NBME exams because it's literally what I fucking do. Waleed Ahmed, no, more med. So start asking like non-med questions, guys. Champion says, "What if I start a YouTube channel explaining your PDFs? Won't it help me retain info?" Well, it's probably like copyright shit. Like I wouldn't want you have to be very careful. Some people ask to like manipulate my content and I don't want that. I wouldn't recommend that. Okay. It's not a good thing to do, to use people's content. That's why I make my own fucking content. Like my audio, my YouTube MCQs are my own questions. I literally write the questions myself. Cause like you can't put NBME questions. Like you get some people who have like a YouTube channel somewhere where like they'll make like a video explaining like every fucking answer in like an NBME exam, and they'll like put it behind a paywall, and you'd be like a expensive paid member on their channel. I don't know how their fucking channels are like still up because it's like copyrighted material. Like there's a reason why I don't fucking like put NBME questions on my fucking like YouTube. It's like it's copyrighted material. It's like you can't do that. So it's like I make my own questions. So I would just make if you want to make a YouTube channel champion, make your own fucking content. Okay? Like don't leech off others' fucking content. Um there's something, I appreciate the respect though, and you asked me, but like I don't want people manipulating or using my content like that. Let's see, where is I just lost the fucking question. More medical questions. I don't want that. I want non-medical questions now, guys. I'll answer some non-medical questions. I'm just scrolling down through med questions. No, I'm not going to answer more medical questions right now. Pavan Kumar Reddy says, do your YouTube videos contain all UWorld questions? Triple question mark. The answer is fucking no. Why would I make questions about you? Why would I do anything relating to UWorld on my fucking YouTube? Like, if anything, my questions are based on what I see on the NBME questions, but I write my own unique questions. But like, UWorld is not the USMLE. Okay, so Champion now asks, what do I think about polygamy and Romania? That's like an interesting question. You asked about polygamy and Romania. I went to Romania in January. I thought Romania was cool. I was in Bucharest because like Romania strikes me as very real. People clearly have like they've gone through hardship. People seem more like brusque. They just strike me as people who faced more adversity. There's a lot of graffiti in Bucharest. It's like going back to the 1970s. That's how I felt. Like I felt like I was in it was a dilapidated type of environment. Where I had an Airbnb, and I got a day pass at a gym in Bucharest, and I walked 90 minutes to this was like my cardio. I walked 90 minutes in the fucking cold because it was January, as I said, to this gym. I walked 90 minutes back, a different route. So I got, I got a mini look at like, the environment and, just people on the streets and stuff. I guess I'm not directly answering your question about like polygamy in Romania. At the gym, guys were very territorial. I noticed. There were like guys and girls working out together as couples, like more so than like at a typical like what I see anywhere else. Like when I was in Poland, Greece, I was in Hungary also in January. I went to Italy a couple times last year. I mean, guys seemed very territorial in Romania. That was just the vibe. That's like as far as polygamy in Romania. I mean, that sounds like Andrew Tate stuff, right? Because Andrew Tate's living in Romania. How many kids do you have as champion? I have fewer than 20 kids. Muhammad with a shitload of Arabic that I can't read. Asks about my APs. How easy are those to get in Japan? You have to find trusted dealers. Lucas Baldo says, hey, Mike, really appreciate your content and pragmatism. I know this depends, but I would like to know your view on how many hours per day it's possible to study, concentrate, doing UWorld questions. 4 to 8 hours per day. 40, 80 questions per day. M-A-H, asks, how can we set one-on-one discussion with you? You have to pay a lot of fucking money and not pay rent, but you can buy hours on my site. That's what you do. You get a lot of people who are like interested in hours, and they see the prices and they like trip out. They think that they're on like Salvia or something. I mean, I don't really know what to say. It's not me being an asshole. It's demand, right? Tahu Blad says, how long should it take to review one NBME? Is 3 days too long? Yes, it's too long. Almost always. I lost the fucking question. It's too long. 2 days per NBME maximum. Very rare. Very, very rare. I'll have a student spend 3 days on NBME. It's very rare. It's only a case where a student really has struggles. Med with Amir says NB. Ask about the NBA favorite team. I've said NBME so many times that like I can't see the words NBA without saying NBME. I would say, honestly, dude, maybe the Celtics because I lived in Boston, and I said like Patriots as well for NFL. What's your max pull-ups, push-ups? Love your content, Dr. Mike asks us. I can do a lot of fucking pull-ups. Um, I don't know how many. I would probably if it's like literally a situation where it's like no, like a Mr. Beast video. Okay, if it's like a Mr. Beast video where they're like, "How many pull-ups can you do?" and you say 50, and then they're like, "We'll give you, $20,000 now if you can do like at least 45 pull-ups or whatever, or if you can do 50 pull-ups, we'll give you like, $20,000." And then like you do like 30,000. Fuck am I saying? It's 4:50 a.m. cracked out. Then you only do 30 pull-ups. You can't do 50. You don't get the money. If it's literally a situation like that, I'd say I can do like wide grip, like legit fucking pull-ups. I'd say I can do like at least at least 20 to 25, at least 25 maybe. Cause emotions or weakness. What is your question? How do you deal when you get how do you deal when you get emotional? Because emotions are weakness for a man. I do think emotions are weakness for. I think emotionality in men. I think that's a weakness. I know many like that'll like get some people real fucking like heated right now. Uh, no pun intended actually, because that would mean you're getting emotional. But it's like I think guys, you have to be very stable. You have to be a rock. Okay, you can have like views. You can be assertive in certain ways, but I think like as a guy, you have to. Um, I see emotions in men as weakness. That's my view. I'm traditional in terms of my views that way. That's what I think. Um, Bahavia says non-medq. What do you feel about religion in general? I've said I'm agnostic, and I know that I've also articulated that I'm very aware that like many of my followers are like very religious, and if I say anything other than like absolutely believe in God, I pray 5 times a day, like some people be like, oh, like that's not good, Michael. Um, I've said like I grew up Jewish. I went through a religious phase. I've been to Israel 4 times. When I was like in my early 20s, I went through a religious phase. Um, I would say now I'm just more agnostic. But I used to be like very like cliche philosophical. Like when I was 20, I'd say that was like my peak in terms of like I used to literally like look at the stars and like think about God and stuff. And like I'm not like that at all anymore. Like at all. Like I'm very much like I'm not like that at all. It's a long discussion, right? I mean, right? But I believe in do I believe in like greater layers slash levels of consciousness, like large and small? The answer is yes. Okay. Like I do think that, and this is 4:52 a.m. So anything I say that sounds like cracked out, I mean, but I do think that like atomic particles, Planck scale. I do think like physics on a small scale and physics on a large scale, like galactic formations. I think it's all part of the same structure in terms of consciousness at different levels, for sure. And that might some people might perceive that as God, just the layers of consciousness. There are greater things than just this single layer we're on right now. Div says, "Are you a dog or cat person?" Cat, I would say. I wouldn't want pets at this point. But if I had to choose, I would choose it like a cat. I had many cats growing up. My family had a lot of cats. More med questions. I'm not answering med questions right now. I answered med questions for like 2 hours and 10 minutes. That's why I'm like cracked the fuck out right now. It's 4:53 a.m. here, as I said. Um, Bahavia Bavaria says also, why didn't you continue with medicine? No interest. What are your dreams, goals currently? That to me is like that kind of goes with like the same viewpoints I had when I was 20. Like I don't really like fantasize or romanticize as far as like, here is my 15-year goal. Here's my 20-year goal. Because I'm 36 and I recognize now that even if you have hypothetical goals, that's not how life turns out anyway. Like you think I thought I was gonna be in Japan. Like never. Like I lived in Australia 7 years. I've been in Japan 7 years. Like maybe I'll end up in fucking like Korea or Iceland or something. I don't fucking know. So, but dreams and goals. I more just um, I more just run with things in the current. I try not to fixate on the long term too much. But in terms of, there's a lot of cliches like, yes, helping people, greater fulfillment. I'm sort of just in a phase of my life, I think, where I'm on autopilot, like allowing things to play out. Rather, I'm not in like a deep introspection phase. That's not the phase I'm in. It would be like analogous to going through fucking U World. Okay, like I just said, you got to just plow through UWorld. You got to put in your mileage, um, and then you can start thinking about how to like prioritize certain like NBME structure, or whatever. I'm more just in like a conveyor belt type of like I'm just pumping out content right now. Um, hey Mike, after reading a lot of posts, blah blah. Blah, let me say. Hey Mike, after reading a lot of posts in your blog, I realized that so many people misjudge you without knowing anything about you or your history. It's disheartening how some people jump to conclusions. That's fine, but I also bear responsibility for anything I put on the internet, right? I mean, that's not like I understand that. I haven't tried to hide like who I am. That's okay. Like, I mean, a lot of people live in fear. You either live in fear or you don't. A lot of people like live in fear, like you should hide who you are. Um, I don't think like that's just not how I operate. I'm not like I'm not trying to compare myself to Elon Musk in that way, but what I'm saying is like the reason some people have an affinity for Elon Musk is because he's real, right? Like, you got to be a fucking real person, and you can't fucking hide behind like a stethoscope and fucking like you can't be a facade. So I mean, I can't be anything but me. So like, and at the same time, you have to be able to handle criticism as you grow in influence. You have to own that. People will continue posting their fucking like negativity and criticism. That's not going to end. That's going to continue. And I'm aware of that. And I'm also aware that like I can't respond to that stuff. As you grow in influence, you have to be able to handle people saying shit about you where you can't respond. That's what you got to deal with. And I talk about this a little bit in my other live streams. Okay. Like I'm not big at this point. I'm not fucking big. 15K, almost 16K on YouTube. That's not big. But as people who have influence, you got to be able to handle criticism and you got to be able to handle fucking people talking shit with big fucking mouths and you not being able to respond. If you can't handle that, then you can't grow in influence. Let's see. Where the fuck was I reading? Let's see. Where was I? I don't even know where I was in the chat. Okay, here we are. Bahavia again. I really appreciate you helping us, taking out time and answer our live streams. You're a gem. Thank you for making your content free. I think if you don't make content free in 2023, you're fucked. You have to have real fucking like audacity and temerity even to think people are gonna pay for your stuff, uh, content you put out. Time is one thing. If I'm meeting someone face to face, your time is one thing. But like content, videos, written work, like please, it's 2023. Like you can't. You have to have a certain level of audacity to think people are going to pay for your dumb shit when there's so much on the internet for free. A lot of you guys wouldn't even be here. You wouldn't even know me if I didn't have my stuff out there for free. Current gym goals, Ricky Coco. Um, I'm bulking right now because it's summer, right? That'll set some people off. You know, that's obviously you can venture into like that type of conversation as far as like chicks like muscle, right? So I mean, that's like I'm in summer right now. I already got pretty ripped. I ran a bit, but when we get into the fall and stuff, maybe I'll like run more, slim down. Um, yay. Definitely not Kanye, but it's yay. Do you still hold your 2018 view about never settling down, maybe only when you're 40, 50? Can you talk more? I don't even think I ever said that. Can you talk more about your parenting philosophy? I tend to agree with a lot of what you say aside from that. Um, Look, I mean, that's a long fucking discussion as far as like the notion of settling down. And I'm also cognizant of certain discussion points where there does not need to be crossover with the medical community. That's like a difficult tightrope I walk, right? Where, um, as I said in one of my prior live streams, like this isn't a fucking like motorcycle chat. Like you guys aren't here where this is like, we're talking about knife throwing. This is like it's medical at the end of the day. But my views are unconventional. I think some guys choose to have a lifestyle where they don't necessarily prefer to be with one person. I'm straight 100% with one female. Um, but females I tend to be with know my lifestyle and they turn a blind eye to it. They're accepting. They're okay with that. I don't know what this question's asking. I've skated my whole life. 12 and a half years I've been skateboarding. Rashika says, what's your opinion on some resource that I don't want to give oxygen to? Nakia Brooks says, is Japan welcoming to people of color? I hear that they are not very welcoming to foreigners. Clearly, you're having a great time, though. No, I think Japan's very welcoming. I think a lot of that's just like myth, like this notion of like Japan not being open to foreigners. It's pretty open / welcome to foreigners. I'm seeing a lot of foreigners now, especially now that COVID era is over. But for Japan, like waited way too long to open back up. Abdel Ram says, "Why did you choose to live in Japan? Did you graduate from the U? I graduated from medical school in Australia, dude. I did my undergrad in Boston, but I did my master's in medical school in Australia. Then I moved to Japan. But why did I choose Japan? I didn't make a list of pros and cons. I had visited here for 3 days with my ex-girlfriend at the time when I was in Australia. Over New Year's 2015, 2016, I decided to move here. Someone asking a very trolling question. I'm not going to read that. Varun says, why don't you work as a doctor in the US? Why are you in Japan? I have no interest in working or being in the US. I've said I don't want to be around guns. Some people think that's like a stupid reason. Like, I don't think that's stupid. Like, why would I want to be around guns? And I like Asian chicks. So I prefer to be in Asia. That's literally like why I prefer to be around Asian chicks. Samuel says, thank you for your content. Cheese Eggs says, what's your job right now? What the fuck do you think my job is? I do USMLE stuff. That's my job. I teach 7 days a week, not 6 days a week. I teach 7 days a week. Samuel Tony Tangana says, and I also have other sources of income. What's your motivation to create this content? Look, dude, I mean, that's actually, it's because I can probably. It's like if you have a skill, like I'm just good at it. I'm good at medicine, so I do it. And I can talk about like, sure, I can help people and all this stuff, like fine. I think you can't romanticize. It's a pretty youthful notion to romanticize like doing what you're passionate about. Like if I'm passionate about fucking like kanji, Japanese kanji, which I mentioned in the last live stream, like, well, why don't I make a career around kanji? Well, how am I going to make a career around writing kanji? Like, you have to do things that are practical, and I think this is practical in terms of like I can contribute, and also things are growing right now, so that's fortunate. I don't have entitlement, but things are growing thanks to you guys. So I'm just running with it. I just said I'm not in like a deep introspection type phase right now, so I'm just creating content and allowing things to grow, and then I don't know. We'll see what happens. Champion says, have I slept with a woman? Was it in the room where you were shooting this video? The fuck do you think, dude? That's a funny question. I'm not going to answer certain questions. I can answer like very like rated X and answer. Like, I'm not going to do that. As I just said, like I can answer questions, but I have to be cognizant and have a certain level of like, awareness for um, a balance of communication with my community. Yorgo, but I have unconventional hobbies. Yorgos A says, "Can you explain your choice of fashion slash appearance?" I don't really give a fuck. I mean, like, it seems like I'm into like fashion. I'm really not, dude. Like, it's just I really don't think jack shit about it. I've talked about appearance in my prior live streams. I've said women only care about looks. They don't care about men's personalities. But this isn't like cynical or negative. Okay, like, but in terms of like, you know, presenting yourself for females, like that can be important if you're trying to meet people outside your social circle. If the male is within the female social circle, he can be very plain in appearance. He can wear fucking like Kmart white t-shirts. He doesn't have to be attractive if he's in social circle, meaning he's in her fucking like, group discussion in med school. He sits next to her like every fucking day, and that's social circle. So he can be very like a plain appearance, and they might date. Um, or she works at his like off, like they work at the same office. They see each other like frequently. They work at the same cafe. That's how you end up with like an attractive female with a guy who's more plain. It's not, there's something negative about it. But if a female meets a guy who's not in her social circle, just lost where I fucking was in the chat. If a female meets a guy who's not in her social circle, she only cares about appearance. That's all women care about. Champion, have you gone to Antarctica? Would I like to go there? I have not been to Antarctica. I would like to go there though. That would be cool. It's fucking expensive to go to Antarctica. I looked up like cruises to Antarctica. It's like it's a lot of money. There's no problem with it. I just don't see it as like a priority. I don't need to blow like $20,000 on Antarctica. Yeah, I'd rather put that in like, I don't know, Bitcoin or something. Rishika Prakash says, "Why do you not do a medical residency after completing steps and graduating?" No interest. I have no interest in being some cuck doctor. Let's see, where the fuck was I? Sometimes when you guys write like a comment in the chat, I lose my fucking, like the chat moves on me. Champion says, "How long do you want to live on this planet?" I don't know, dude. I would say at least like if any of us can hit 90, that's like a pretty like, that's a long life. Maybe by the time we get there and improved healthcare and stuff, like 100 will be the norm. I don't know. But I'd say like at least 90, right? That would be like you can't complain if you hit 90. That's like that's a good length of life. Yeah, I do cardio. Cardio is important. Ahmed Mubashar. What would be an advice you could give younger version of yourself? I would say that you have to understand that rejection is like normal, and that doesn't go away. And I'd say meeting people at a high level is very important. You have to put yourself out there and meet a lot of people, and you have to take a lot of rejections. And that's very important for strengthening you. That's important for the male. Okay. I mean, women don't, it's not as critical for females, but for men, you have to be able to like, it's an important ability to be able to introduce yourself to people and be able to handle rejection at a high level. And that makes you in turn just stronger in your shell, stronger as a person. Yeah, there's a lot I could talk about on that front. Cheese eggs. Are you in touch with your family? Yeah, I talk to my family. Like iMessage, FaceTime audio. I don't like video chat them too frequently. But I talk to them maybe like once a week. My mom, dad, sister. I talk to them like once a week. I've got family like in other places of the world, but my mom, dad, sister, my nuclear family in the US, maybe like once a week. I'm actually the one who like keeps in touch. They don't fucking keep in touch. It's one of those things like, how like if you just like decide not to contact someone or people, and then they you just say, well, how long is it going to be before they contact me? They like never reach out to me. I'm always the one who keeps in touch with my family. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Just like I kind of hold it together. Something about love. I just do a better job of keeping in touch with them. I get that from my probably from my maybe my mom's mom. That's where I get that from. My mom's mom was really good in keeping in touch with people. She was a very like, which is weird because I don't come off as like the most affable people person, but I'm like able to like, I keep in touch with people well if I choose to. Uh, let's see, Akil Paturi. What do you think is the best place to live long term as a young man, early 20s? Australia was fucking good. Australia is like a hookup haven if you go there. Australia is number 2 in the world for most number of sexual partners behind Turkey. So Australia was like, I mean, I lived 7 years in Australia. It was fucking great. Um, yeah, I'd say go to Australia is a good place. Why Japan? Asked Mohammed. I answer this already. I like Asian chicks. I prefer Asian chicks. So I mean, I wasn't into Asian chicks until I was like late 20s. I used to like actively not like Asian chicks. Now I like prefer Asian chicks. Behavia says, would you want to settle down sooner? Like have a partner and kids? I mean, how do you know I don't have like multiple situations that are unconventional? I just choose. I don't need to like overlap that stuff. Um, I'm not reading that. You're an explorer. What's the lamp light behind you made of? Is it glass? I think it's metal/plastic. It's a fucking cool one, isn't it? Beanto, Darbo. Hey Mike, do you have a general path? Don't fucking ask me that question right now. It's a trolling fucking question. All my PDFs have path in them, like cardiopulmonary gastro. The path is in there. Moogle 900 says you are the Elon Musk of USMLE field. Believe me. No, maybe you can say there's some like analogy, like some comparisons, but like nah. Elon Musk is a much better version. Um, Elon Musk is a better version. Let's see. Like he's more effectual. Like if I had it, like in terms of like genes and what I think being able to create like $250 billion is like a better outcome, don't you think? Like I mean, like how do you just create that wealth? I mean, that's ridiculous. I'd prefer that gene. Just put it that way. Ngozi says, "What's your opinion on?" I'm not answering that fucking question. Maria says, "Your skin is perfect. Also, Celtics and Patriots. I already knew you were awesome, but that made my day." Well, you make my day all the time. You really do. I got to keep it like PG. Mo Abdel says best content. Mo Abdel says, "What's your training split?" Someone asked me this last time. I don't like hardcore overthink it. Like I don't plan really. I just go to the gym and I feel out like what do I need to work on. Today I did arms, shoulders, I did abs. I did some legs today. Let's see. Neil Pater Pekar says, what was your diet meal planning like in med school? I didn't, dude. Let me see, I fucking lost where I was. Oh, when I was living in Australia, I mean, I ate a lot of fish and chips. That was big in Australia. Meat pies, Aussie breakfast. Okay, it's like a grilled tomato. Okay, grilled tomato is good. Avocado with like your eggs and potato. Stuff's good for Aussie breakfast. Fish and chips in Tasmania with Guinness beer. Fucking amazing. It was really good. So Anna Magus says, come to Israel. I've been there 4 times. I should go back to Israel, right? I should. Salah Eldane says, can I get my letter of recommendation for my country as in Egypt? I don't fucking know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you could. I don't really want to talk about like medicine right now. It's 5:14 a.m. where I am, so I'm like cracked out. After this live stream, I'm gonna go have some chicken salad. I'll shave and shower. I'll get to bed by like 8 a.m. probably. Be a fucking crackhead. Champion says, oh, Roll Kawar says, got a sweet Asian chick. And then you say a bunch of stuff. What is that? Is that poetry? What are you saying? Champion says, what do you think of the world leader right now? Like Biden, Putin, Modi, Sunak. I talked about whom I voted for in my previous. Do you guys know whom I voted for? I voted for Obama. I voted for Hillary. I voted for Biden. But I don't know about the next election. I cannot fucking see myself. Like my thoughts have changed. My thoughts have changed. I think getting into political stuff, if you can get divisive, right? It's not the best move sometimes. But I think like I don't know if I would like. I couldn't see myself fucking voting for like Trump. Like really, that's like I can't do that. But it's like I don't know. I couldn't do that. I feel like I couldn't do that. I'd probably end up not voting or something. But I don't support like I'm starting to not support certain things in the Democratic Party with like the feminism and all that. I don't really I really don't support that. And I'm also pro-life. That's the other thing. I'm pro-life. Look, it's polarizing, right? Some people have different views. People get very like ardent or ignited about their views on something, and so that can be divisive. And so, but I'm pro-life, and also I'm not into like supporting all the feminism stuff. Like obviously equal rights. It's not about that, but it's about like actively trying to bring down men. I don't support that, but I did vote for Biden, Hillary, and Obama. Let's see. Champion says, if given opportunity, would you want to make your own country? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want that responsibility. I don't think. My own country. That's really funny. That's like a screening question. That sounds like a psych screening question for like, are you an autocrat? That's what it sounds like. That question. Clearly, I voted Democratic in the last 3 elections. If I were an autocrat, don't you think I would have voted for Trump? Right? But I said like I couldn't imagine I could not imagine voting for Trump in like the next election. Like I just couldn't I couldn't do that. My exam is in 12 days. I feel like I don't know anything. What should I do? I'm not answering Mike Matthew. I'm not answering med questions right now. Yay says, have you ever tried electric skateboarding to get places faster? I think that's beta. No, I've never tried electric skateboarding. Would you rather stick to regular boarding? Yeah. I have a regular shortboard. I've been 12 and a half years been skateboarding. When I was in Australia, I had 5 skateboards. And I gave them away. 4 of them away. Let me scroll back up. Beast Freakin says, are you gay, bro? No, I'm not. I'm 100% straight. Not 1% anything else. That's okay. It's okay to answer that. / ask that. No, I'm 100% straight. That's probably, I have like maybe an unconventional like style, like my old videos and stuff. I nail polish and stuff, but like, or like I wear like fucking like, do my fucking like eyebrows or something. But it's like, no, maybe because I'm just so comfortable, as in like I know I'm solid and straight, that like it's not a big deal to me. And I'm also in Asia. I think like this things are a bit different here. Like Japanese guys are really fucking like feminine and beta and like wear like fucking like blush and shit. Like some guys are really like Japanese guys are real fucking like beta and like feminine. I'm not a feminine fucking dude. Like, even if I like fucking like, pencil my eyebrows or some shit where you think it's like, gay or laughable, like I'm not a feminine fucking dude. So like in Japan, it's like it's cringe like how like feminine fucking some of these dudes are. But I can't it shouldn't be negative. There's nothing negative, right? There's nothing negative. Same way if like, you have a friend who's like LGBT or something, you say, well, that's how that person chooses to live. There's nothing negative. So I shouldn't like articulate my view as though there's like a negativity there. It's just I am merely commenting slash observing that like dudes are fucking like, the genders are like reversed. Like you'll see girls out where like they'll be wearing like no makeup, like a mask, very plain clothing, and then the dude will be like have his fucking like his blush and like long fucking feminine hair. I mean, look, I had like a long hair phase here as well. There can't be judgment, but I'm not a feminine fucking dude. Pooja Yadav says, "Thank you for being so upfront and patient with our absurdity. Love from India, and I think Japan is a great country and amazing culture. Love your spirit." Thank you, Pooja. Sir, you USMLE holder? What the fuck does that mean, Suraj? Yes, I've sat the USMLEs. I fucking teach USMLE. I don't know what you're asking me. Ye says, you talk about adversity, rejection breeds confidence in the absence of incurring repeated. Let me try to read this again. You talk about how adversity, rejection breeds confidence. Yep. The absence of incurring repeated rejections. How else would you create artificial adversity? No, I wouldn't say artificial adversity to increase confidence. No, it's a good question. The number one way to, yes, you clearly have read my content. You have to, as a male, you have to go out and incur repeated adversity, which means introducing yourself to women and taking rejections. I mean, I can take like 100 plus rejections in an afternoon. I mean, that's normal. That's not a big deal for me. But you're asking, if you don't go out and introduce yourself to people and take incurring rejections, how can you create adversity? Look, I mean, basically, I've said that incurring repeated rejections are a form of mini adversity, which in turn strengthen the male and create confidence. That's a major theme of mine. However, you're asking how to do it otherwise. What you have to do is, it's actually about whom you surround yourself with. You need to cut out fucking people who are negative and surround yourself with people who are positive. I am able to cut off people really fucking quickly if I feel they're negative. I don't feel like guilty about that either. I tend to be quite swift with whom I surround myself with in terms of changing people in my life if I feel that's important. If anyone says negative shit to you, like you have to be able to accept criticisms, yes, but you have to also think about like if there's certain people who criticize my appearance in particular, and people criticize my appearance all the fucking time. That's like all the fucking time, understandably. But I mean, like in real life, like I'll cut those people out generally. So to increase your confidence, I'd say it's a combination of like, yeah, you gotta um, incur adversity. I would say, truthfully, dude, there is no replacement for taking repeated rejections through opening women. I don't think there is a replacement for that. You could say, well, what about like adversity through like failed business ventures, or you go do like jujitsu or something and you lose a fight, So there's going to be like, you take losses in other realms. Okay. That can create confidence. Yes. But if your goal is to like ultimately be able to meet people and have a strengthened, the more rejection the male takes, the more masculinized his behavior. Alfredo Aguilera Limon, during dedicated for, I'm answering med questions right now. I'm not answering that. Varun says, what the fuck are these questions? All in capitals. Ahmad says, what should I do, Anki, before starting step 2 UWorld? That's laughable. I'm not answering that. Lost my fucking spot. Where's GSX? There he is. Would you have chosen medicine if you could go back? No, I wouldn't have. I just chose medicine because that's like normal for like when you're young and your parents like, it's like it's like be a doctor, lawyer, dentist, pharmacist. I mean, that's like pretty like normal. It's just like an autopilot thing. That's a long discussion, like that was the template that like the previous generation had. It's nothing against them. They didn't have the internet the way we do now. But no, I wouldn't go back and choose medicine. I would probably do I would invest heavy probably in like, I don't know, crypto trading. My grandfather was a stockbroker, and I'm good at math, so I could like, I could become an expert in that. I think if I, but not above retail level at the moment. I don't want to focus on that right now. But going back, if I were 20 or something, maybe I would do that. That would be like my career, maybe, and I'd make a lot more fucking money than what I'm doing now. Even though right now I can't complain. Rolly Quar says, I want to move to Japan too, but you're currently doing med school in the Caribbean. Well, Japan's fucking awesome. Favorite JoJo character? Jotaro Kujo. Ahmed Nassar. What I need to know about pulmonary capillary wedge pressure for step one, dear. Laughable. I talk about that obviously in my cardio PDF quite a bit. Pulmonary capillary wedge pressure. You can just go to my cardio PDF, talk heaps of fucking about that. I know it's a troll question though. Champion, bro, what do you think of Gandhi? No opinion. Do you think his principles still can be used in today's world, like against gun violence, or were the British dumb? I don't have an opinion on that. I know that might be like upsetting to, some people. Like you ask about a certain famous figure. I don't have an opinion on that. Hi says, I heard Japanese women are great wives. They take such great care of their husbands. Okay. Well, that discussion is like, as far as there can be probably a greater percentage of women here who are more traditional and like want that. Like for example, if I were to say this is like a hypothetical, if I were to like articulate a viewpoint that like I think it's most attractive that a female just produces kids and like cooks and cleans, that's like almost like that's like considered like misogynist in 2023. They'd be like, Michael, that's not like, but like, is that really like, a female who chooses to like have a household with like, make kids and like cook? And I mean, is that really like bad? Like, why is that bad? But that's viewed as like not a good thing by like many modern, like in modern society, that can be taken the wrong way. And so, but there are probably a greater percentage of Japanese women who like who are open to that traditional style. But that's a long discussion. Once again, in 2023, things can get taken the wrong way very fucking fast. Like you make any comments as far as like, what you think about women in career and like family. It's just interesting how that's where we're at in like culture, where it's like I could like get on YouTube and talk about like Russia invading Ukraine or like the Uyghurs in like China or something, Western China, and that's like not a big deal. But then like you talk about like what your view on like a good household is with like female male roles, and like that's like all of a sudden bad. That's like, I mean, or like cancellation level. Like that's like weird that we're at that level or at that place in society. But I'm more traditional in terms of my viewpoints. Like I think the male role is more like making income and supporting, and the female role, I don't need a female who makes money or wants career. I'm okay with a female who just like wants to make kids and cook and clean, even if in 2023 that sounds like, that's bad, Michael. You shouldn't want like a traditional household. You should want the female to make 300K a year and be the pants in the relationship while you like nursemaid the fucking baby at home and not work. Like the genders have fucking like reversed, and maybe that's like why there's like this trans movement in the fucking US right now. As I said, it's like DDCYT says, any anime recommendations? I fucking said JoJo. How much sleep do you get? No, it's true. It's 5:30 a.m. here. I haven't slept, so I'm cracked out. Ahmed Mubashar, you're studying med in a foreign country. And that got me when you said you're the only one that keeps in touch with family. I keep in touch with family. My family doesn't like contact me, like rarely. Like if I were to just like run an experiment and I just say, okay, I'm not gonna like reach out to my family, like it would go like 2 months. I'd probably like not hear from them. It's like it's not like negative. Like we love each other. It's just I'm better at keeping in touch. I'm like the linchpin for keeping in touch with my nuclear family. Like they just tend not to like reach out as much. How's work in Japan? Is it a lot? Well, I do my own thing, right? But if you work for a Japanese company, you got to work long fucking hours. RJ says cuck doctor, USMLE mega chad. I have no interest in being some cuck doctor. Like, why would I want to do that? I have no fucking interest. Like, I have no fucking interest in that. Div says I still don't understand how that lamp works. That's hilarious. Sorry, I have OCD. That's so funny. Um, which vitamin? Muhammad asks, which vitamin is given an immunization program? Vitamin A. I had this question in my med school. What do you think? It's vitamin A. It's like that can protect against influenza or some bullshit. That was like a weird fucking factoid like 8 years ago. It's nonsense. It's not gonna get fucking asked. But it was like something about vitamin A. I'm pretty sure there was something about like how vitamin A can prevent like I don't know fucking influenza or like decreased risk of influenza. I haven't seen that ever assessed. Champion says how to change your diurnal rhythm, like sleeping in the evening, like between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. and stay awake the whole night. I would not ever attempt to emulate my sleep schedule. The only reason I fucked up sleep is because I teach at night my time so that I can hit the mornings for like the United States. Because like I don't know, maybe like 2/3 of my students are in the U.S. time zones. Uh, Muhammad says my lamp works by nuclear complex quantum energy. Fariha says, please reveal your skincare routine. I use vitamin E oil. I'm 36. I've been using vitamin E oil since I was like 23, living in Australia. I use it on my face before bed. And you can also use like 0.1% tretinoin. I don't use it that often though, but that's for photo aging. But I have it, but I don't use it that often because it causes desquamation. I fucking hate the peeling. But you got to use vitamin E oil. Nothing else, just vitamin E oil, and you got to like put a lot of it on your face before bed. Have you? But like, I'm not trying to like talk about me or appearance. Like, that's not like what I need to do, right? Like, I've already talked about my prior clips how like when I was younger, I had like insecurities about my appearance, and I'm 36. I'm in a much better place now. People criticize my appearance all the time. Um, but yeah, like I'm aware that for 36, like if I meet people now who are like my age, I'm aware that like I tend to look younger than other people who are 36. Have you had top tier Wagyu in Japan? If so, what do you know how it compares to Australian Wagyu? I've had Wagyu, but like that's more like a gaijin. That's like a tourist thing, a touristy thing. It's like people who actually live here don't give a fuck. Like I would rather go to some like good yakiniku place and not have Wagyu and have what's called a tabe hodai, which means you can eat as much as you want, or tabe nomi hodai, which means you can eat and drink as much as you want in 90 minutes. You get fucking amazing like beef that's not Wagyu, high portion. If you're a fucking dude and you want to eat, you can just eat a lot of fucking meat and it's fulfilling and satisfying. You go to some like Wagyu place, they'll give you like fucking like small cubes of like beef and then you pay like $200 for it. It's a waste of fucking money. Um, but I did have Wagyu on my birthday, actually, funnily enough, back in January. Thoughts on evolution, thoughts on religion, why are you agnostic, thoughts and advice for medical burnout, evolution. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not like novel information to know that the next step in human evolution is AI and like I was gonna say fucking Americans. I'm like cracked out 5:33 right a.m. Um, the next step is evolution, and evolution is AI, and it's not going to be humans that travel to the stars. It's going to be AI that travels to the stars. Humans have no role in the future, really. You could talk about like bots slash like hybrid cyborg type um, beings, but I think it's going to be mainly like it'll just be like digital, just AI that travels to the stars. Like there won't be an actual physical being that's necessary. That's a long fucking discussion, clearly. Um, but humans are on the way out, I think. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think humans are on the way out. It'll be AI for sure. But everything we've put forth, like everything we put on the internet, is creating the AI. Clearly, that's all it is. It's on thoughts on religion. Why am I agnostic? Um, I just I'm just not convinced that there has to be like some figure that I'm praying to. But I said that agnostic, like I've said that if I believe in greater levels slash layers of consciousness, and that can be described as some as like a god. So like I do believe in that, but I'm not in like a very introspective period in my life. Maybe in the future, like I will come back, I will revisit religious ideals in some form. But at the moment, it's just not a part of my life. Thoughts and advices for medical burnout. You got to go to the gym. That's like the number one most important thing. People could say like, have a relationship, have sex, but like go to the gym. You got to go to the gym daily. That'll just help you hugely psychologically. Allow yourself to take breaks, watch movies. Like study 8 hours a day and just say I'm going to do other stuff the rest of the day. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Um, Neil says, "How old were you when you started being comfortable with rejection?" I'm in my mid 20s and struggle with that. I would say I was like 25. I was like pretty like shy until I was like maybe 24, 25. I was like afraid to open chicks when I was like 24, up until I was 24. I was like always the beta I had like attractive girlfriends, but I was like beta. Like it was their relationships for sure. Um, but yeah, I was like 25. That's when things transitioned for me in terms of like I wasn't afraid to meet people anymore. Ahmed says, Mohammed, stop it, dude. He can ask questions. Let's see. Champion says, do you think med school is a waste of time? What are the pros and cons? Um, as I said, my answers like can be taken out of context slash the wrong way. That's like I don't think there's freedom of speech in 2023. There's no freedom of speech anymore because the answer I want to give is like not like a. Um, I think that like men need to. It's okay for men to like push for career. I think I'm okay with a female not working on career. I don't see that as necessary. I'm not saying women can't do that. There's no problem with that. I just think I'm most attracted to women. I'd rather date a chick who works at a convenience store than date a doctor. If I meet some chick who's like, I have a PhD in photosynthesis or something, like I'm not interested. Like I'd rather meet a chick who works at a convenience store, um, you know, who works at like a bakery or something, um, and who's just interested in like making kids and like cooking and cleaning. I find that most attractive. I know it might sound like a parody, and there's no freedom of speech in 2023 where things are always taken the wrong way. Um, I just don't see it as like if a female chooses to work on her medical career, great, okay, do it. Um, I just I prefer a chick who works at a convenience store. I find that more attractive. It's not. I know it sounds like a parody, but I'm not joking. I'm leaving, and Muhammad says, "Amboss library versus first aid." Not answering that. Ran Rogers says, "Did you watch Brooklyn?" Let's see. Yay! Someone give us an award for us. A rare laugh from Mike. Not a lot, right? Rejuvenate simple. Your skin is awesome. You've stayed young. I'm not answering that question about Anki. Should end this live stream. It's been 3 fucking hours. Hey, Dr. Mike, how are you? What's going on? Hope you're good, says Yazid. Mo Abdel. Mo Abdel, your name sounds familiar. I feel like we may have chatted a while back. Says thoughts on vaping, nicotine, and safety. Do you 420 or use anything recreationally? I don't smoke. I don't vape. I don't smoke. Mo Abdel says, how's the cost of living where you are in Japan? It's fucking cheap. It's very fucking cheap. I'm not going to give exact numbers. I'm not going to give exact numbers of where I am now, but like my old place that I was at for 6.5 years, I was paying $272 a month, not per week, per month. It was like 4K for the year. Um, I should just end this live stream, shouldn't I? I'm just looking at some of your final comments, guys. Sean J. Ash says, can you have a girlfriend while studying for steps or wait till residency? No, I think you can have if you're like having a girlfriend. I had a stable girlfriend back when I was 24 studying for step. That helped actually. I was 24 and she was 18. She was introduced to me through, that's a long fucking story. It was like my Aussie housemate's girlfriend's friend, and she would go out and party all the time while I studied. We were like completely different. Um, and I would just study all day, and then she would come back to my place like at literally like 2 a.m. after like going out partying. You know, it's what it was. Dosage Zero says nerdy chicks are hot. I prefer nerdy chicks, I think. Yeah, I prefer, it depends. It depends. I could also say like stuff that's not appropriate for like, once again, anything you fucking say about like male female preferences is like taken the wrong way in 2023. Yeah, sometimes nerdy chicks are hot. I agree with that. But I also prefer like sometimes like women who are dressed like hostesses. I think that's like good. I like women who like dress like a fucking hostess. Is that wrong? Right? To like a chick dresses in like, something attractive. Like, why is that wrong? There's nothing wrong with that. Mike, you're a misogynist. You said girl looks good when she dresses like a hostess. Like, why is that bad? Like, okay. It's like a girl saying, like, I like a guy who's like jacked who wears like fucking like a Gold's gym like singlet or something. Like, is that like, I don't know, misandrist or like not really. How to deal with arrogant professors in med school? I rubbed people the wrong fucking way in med school. That's professors the wrong fucking way. All right. Biden or Trump? I answered that before. I voted for Biden. I said I voted for Biden. I voted for Obama, Hillary, and Biden. But I don't know in the next election. I already talked about this. In the next election, I don't know. I couldn't see myself voting for Trump. That would just be weird. But like, I don't support, like, I'm pro life and I don't support like a lot of this like feminist stuff. I just think it's out of hand, out of control. Yeah, you're asking more med questions. All right. Joy says, fuck woke liberals. Oh, yeah, well, look, I mean, politics is divisive, right? I mean, like, you make 50, you like ostracize 50% of people. It's not like, all right, well, guys, it's been 3 hours and 7 minutes. I appreciate those who are still here. It's 5:43 a.m. So I'm gonna eat some chicken and have some salad. All right, guys. So appreciate you stopping through. Obviously, I'll make more live streams.